Top Altcoins 2025. Who will take the crown in the crypto market? Crypto fans, pay attention. Imagine you had the chance to find the next king of the crypto market. Ethereum is still dominating the market right now, but challenges like Solana, Neurai, AVAX, and Cardano could pose a real threat. And which altcoin actually offers the most opportunities? In this video, you have everything. I analyze all 25 altcoins for you in detail. I'll explain to you what are they actually, what makes them special. Then I'll also make a price prediction. And all of that with chapter markers, so you can go to the points that interest you.
Price forecast 2025. Is Donald Trump really betting on AVE? And what does that actually mean for the price in 2025? Let's analyze that in more detail. But what makes this altcoin so special? Could AVE be the next 10x opportunity for you? In this video, I'll show you why AVE is really being talked about among large investors and how it could develop by 2025. The crucial question is AVE really a project that you should keep an eye on in 2025? Or it might just be an overvalued project in the end. So stay tuned, because what I've found out about AVE could be crucial for you as well. So what is AVE actually? Well, in the end, it's a DeFi platform where cryptocurrencies like Ethereum or USDC can be deposited and then you earn interest on them. One of the special features of AVE is that they offer what's called flash loans, which are unsecured loans within the LaminTech platform. As mentioned, it's a decentralized platform, so it will become increasingly relevant in the future, and it was founded back in 2017, so they've been on the market for a long time and are a big player. Yes, we are now analyzing AVE based on my 20 metrics. Here I've listed them in detail again. If you want me to explain these, feel free to check out the video above. Now let's move on to the market capitalization. In the end, market capitalization is important to know how much potential AVE actually still has. Yes, and how much potential is really in AVE, we'll get to that later. Now let's move on to the circulating supply, which is not at 93% but already extremely high. That's a good sign. It means many of the tokens are already in circulation, which means the price pressure won't be as extreme in the future. That's the positive 9 out of 10. And then we come to the next point, the roadmap. How strong are they in the roadmap? The roadmap is of course important for the credibility of a project, especially that they actually implement the roadmap. Here, they are essentially continuing to expand and further develop the protocol. They also want to integrate new layer 2 blockchains into their system. So overall, it's a very positive 8 out of 10. And how does the team look? They are also very well positioned there. They essentially have a team that is very experienced in the blockchain and DeFi space, so they are very well positioned. As always, I will display everything possible, the important information about AVE in the area of 9 out of 10. Then the next point, how does the narrative look? The DeFi narrative. And getting interest on your cryptocurrency is ultimately a very important narrative. It's been extremely quiet around it lately. But from my perspective, the DeFi space will gain momentum again next year, in 2025. 8 out of 10. And then the next point, what problem are they solving? Well, the problem is that you don't just leave your cryptocurrency sitting there without getting anything in return, but instead you actually earn an interest rate on it, which is of course extremely positive. That's what people want. That's a 9 out of 10. And the next point, how is the tokenomics? It's very solidly structured. There are staking rewards, and essentially the token can be used for many things. As I said, they have a solid tokenomics. 7 from CB. Then the next point, how do the investors look? They have very strong investors, as I said, not only Donald Trump, who ultimately invested in this project with his new altcoin, but also institutional investors who are investing. If you look at it, there are many investors supporting the project, which is very positive. 9 out of 10. Capital is strong. Institutional investors are investing, providing good capital. Because institutional investors invest naturally, they also have correspondingly good capital. They have weathered the bear market very solidly and will continue to grow strongly in the future. 8 out of 10. So how does the marketing look? In marketing, they are also solidly positioned. They have strong partnerships and are very engaged, especially when it comes to the community. So all in all, 8 out of 10. Stop. If you appreciate in-depth analyses, then please leave a like for the algorithm, and if you don't want to miss any more analyses, I upload an altcoin analysis every Saturday and Sunday. I'm focusing on 100x altcoins that can really help you financially, but also on the big players in the market as I analyze both. As I mentioned, I upload an analysis every Saturday and Sunday. If you don't want to miss these, then subscribe to my channel now, and don't forget to activate the bell so you won't miss any insights. Now let's get right into it. So let's get to the idea. How simple is it really? Well, in the end, it's simply about earning DeFi, interest on your cryptocurrency, which everyone understands, so that's an 8 out of 10. And then, what's the long-term vision? They want to expand their infrastructure in the DeFi space and continue to focus on building that infrastructure, which is definitely a positive, so that's a 9 out of 10. And then, what is the long-term vision? They ultimately want to expand their infrastructure in the DeFi space and continue to focus on building that infrastructure, which is definitely a positive, so that's a 9 out of 10. Then it is deflationary, it has a maximum supply, and it is not deflationary, which is not so optimal, but it has a maximum supply, which is again very good, 7 out of 10. And then the next point, the fully diluted market capitalization, which is the first 6 times the market cap, so it's very solid. This means it's currently fairly valued, giving it a 9 out of 10. And then the next point, volume to market cap. How liquid is the altcoin actually? How liquid is it? It is very solid. It is very liquid. Very positive. AAVE is well positioned, 8 out of 10. So how does the token distribution look? In the beginning, was there a lockup period? The initial token distribution was very positive. As I mentioned, most tokens are already distributed, which is very good, so that's an 8 out of 10. So what about the top coin holders? Are there many of them or are there few? In the end, there are only a few. It's quite decentralized, which minimizes the risks, so that's a 7 out of 10. And what is the actual utility of the AAVE token? Well, on one hand, there's staking, and you can also use it within the ecosystem. And for governance, meaning you can vote on certain issues within the system. That's very positive, and a lot is based on the token, so that's a 9 out of 10. So, how's the community looking? The community is very active on Twitter, Discord, and Reddit. They're really well organized. A strong community is always extremely important, so that's a 9 out of 10. And how does the current market situation look? They're really well positioned, because Donald Trump is investing with his altcoins, so to speak, and institutional investors are definitely keeping an eye on AAVE. They're in a strong position. As I said, I think the DeFi space is going to gain momentum again in the future, and with the altcoin season just around the corner, there should be some surprises in store as well. That's an 8 out of 10. Yes, then let's get to the results. 185.8, that's a very good result, very solid. The market capitalization is already in the high cap range, but there's still potential there. The circulating supply is already quite high. Over 90% is in circulation, which is extremely positive. Then the roadmap and the team. They have a strong team. They have a solid roadmap. They are really working through the solid roadmap step by step, so they are well positioned. They address an important narrative. In the end, they have 1,000 problems that they solve, and the tokenomics is solid, but it could still use some improvement. Investors in capital, they're extremely well positioned. They have high-profile investors, they have a lot of capital, so they're extremely well positioned. They have a simple idea that everyone understands, and in the end, the volume is extremely high, so the liquidity of the token is very good. So, the utility is definitely there. You can really use the token for multiple purposes, and the outcome is definitely justified. Now we come to the most important part, the price prediction. So, if the entire crypto market reaches a certain point, and based on the fully diluted market capitalization, if everything were to go smoothly, $550 would definitely be possible. If things were to go significantly better, it would be $1,100, and if the entire crypto market really gains massive value, it could be roughly a 10x from now. So there's still extreme growth potential. And where you can find AAVE, I'll just link a crypto exchange that I use down below, and you can find AAVE there too. In this video, I analyze Cardano in detail using my 20 metrics and apply my 10x formula. And why Cardano surprised me so much, all of that in this video. Yes, let's get started right away. What is Cardano actually? It is a layer 1 blockchain with proof of stake and ultimately values scalability and interoperability, meaning connecting with several other blockchains. Founded in 2017. Now let's move on to my 10x formula. I highly recommend this video up here where I present the 10x formula and especially my 20 metrics in detail. Then let's get started. What is the market capitalization? It is at 35 billion. The growth is still moderate, therefore 5 out of 10. What about the circulating supply ultimately? It is not at 78%. That is definitely very good.
That means ADA is not inflationary, therefore 8 out of 10. Then the next point, what about the roadmap? Well, they definitely have various goals, a detailed phase development, ultimately a clear focus on decentralization, scaling, and governance, therefore 9 out of 10. And then the next point, what about the team? Well, member Charles Hoskinson, everyone knows him, is a former co-founder of Ethereum and has an experienced team of developers, but also researchers, therefore 9 out of 10. Then the next point, what about the narrative? Well, scientifically based, ADA is ultimately sustainable and especially security-oriented. Primarily, the sustainable aspect is a good narrative, therefore 8 out of 10. And the next point, what problem does ADA solve? Well, it will solve the problem of scalability and sustainability simultaneously, decentralization on blockchain technology, so all important points, therefore 9 out of 10. And then the next point, what about the tokenomics? Well, it is based on proof of stake, promotes stability, and there are staking rewards, which is also good because it encourages participation, therefore 8 out of 10. And then the next point, how do the investors look? Well, primarily supported by the community and staking, no. Investors, therefore only 6 out of 10. And then the next point, the capital. Well, financial strength is well funded through previous sales. And support, therefore 8 out of 10. And the next point, how does the marketing look? Well, community-driven, ADA is ultimately also supported by larger partnerships, which is very good, therefore 7 out of 10. So, I discovered an old master that really blew me away, with mega potential and a low market capitalization, which is of course absolutely advantageous for us investors. Strangely, no one has really noticed it yet. I will upload this altcoin next weekend. The complete analysis based on my 20 metrics with my 10x formula. So, if you don't want to miss it, feel free to subscribe to my channel and don't forget to activate the bell so you don't miss any. And now it continues directly. Yes, the next point. How about the idea? Is it simple? In the end, it is moderately complex, of course, from a technical perspective for beginners, ultimately for laypeople, but the concept is quite understandable, hence 6 out of 10. Then the next point, what does the long-term vision look like? Well, ADA ultimately aims to be sustainable platforms for DeFi, education and governance, which are very important, and therefore 8 out of 10. And the next point is whether it is deflationary, with a maximum supply, and it has a fixed supply cap of 45 billion ADA, which is already positive, hence 8 out of 10. And then the next point, what about the fully diluted market capitalization? Well, it is almost 1-to-1 in the end because most tokens are already in circulation, which is extremely positive, hence 9 out of 10. And then the next point, what about the liquidity? In the end, it is about what high liquidity speaks of, which is positive, 8 out of 10. And then the next point, what does the token distribution look like? Well, in the end, the distribution through staking options is rather low, therefore a low concentration, well distributed, decentralized, which is good. And then the next point, how does it look regarding the top coins? They are as low as possible, and in the end they are relatively low, therefore that is positive, 7 out of 10. And then the next point, what utility does it ultimately have? Well, first of all, the transaction costs, then staking, and of course participation in governance, therefore 9 out of 10. Then the next point, what about the community? Well, it is very active. The ADA community really supports Cardano a lot, but the developers are also very strong and many are involved, especially regarding the sustainability aspect, therefore 9 out of 10. And the next point, what is the current market situation? Well, there is high competition, especially in the layer 1 space, that must be said. And at the moment there is no altcoin season yet, but ADA has been on the market for a very long time, so I am optimistic and give it 6 out of 10. Yes, then let's get straight to the result. 79.3 is a solid result. Good tokenomics. I mean, the growth potential is only moderate, but still a good outcome, so here everything is listed very transparently. Yes, and then we come to the price forecast, as always here at the top, either in the bear case, let's say the normal case, or the very optimistic case. Therefore, ADA could reach between $3 and $7, which would be 6 to 12 times, still an extremely good growth potential. Now that you know the potential of other, I would like to introduce you to a top altcoin with mega opportunities that, strangely enough, not many people are aware of. I'll link it up here. I have analyzed it in detail based on my 20 key figures using my 10x formula. Have fun with it. If you like this video, please give it a like and let me know what other altcoin analyses you would like to see. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Alchemy Pay Price Prediction 2025, your key to becoming a crypto millionaire. In this video, we analyze the potential by 2025 and whether now is the perfect time to get in. Stay tuned because the answers could change your future. In a world that is becoming increasingly digital, payments are easier than ever. But when it comes to cryptocurrencies, there's a big problem. It's still way too complicated for everyday use. What if you could use your cryptocurrency as easily as your credit card or ultimately a QR code? Imagine payments in seconds, without stress, without complicated processes. That's where Alchemy Pay comes in, a real game changer in the payment industry. But how does it work? What makes it so revolutionary? All of that in this video, and then we'll jump right into the analysis of Alchemy Pay. What is it actually? It's a fiat crypto gateway that simplifies payments by converting cryptocurrency directly into fiat currency. It also works with well-known payment systems like Visa, MasterCard, and mobile payment platforms. And it's used by many merchants to enable payments with cryptocurrencies. It runs on the Ceres and Binance blockchain, and was actually founded back in 2018 but has been on the market for a long time. And here we come to my 20 metrics. If you want a more detailed explanation of these, I've listed them here. Otherwise, I'll link a video up here where I explain them in detail for you. Capitalization. So they have a market capitalization in the low cap sector, so they still have extreme potential. The market capitalization is extremely important. You always have to pay attention to the fact that it's not the price that matters in the end, but the market capitalization that determines whether an altcoin can grow and how much it can still grow. Yes, how much potential is still in Alchemy Pay? We'll get to that later in the overall analysis. Then the next point, what about the circulating supply? It's important. A circulating supply essentially means the coins that are not yet on the market can create price pressure if too many coins are still not available. Here it's already 84%. That's extremely positive. That means not as many tokens can come onto the market anymore, which means the price pressure isn't as strong anymore. So in that area, 9 out of 10. Now let's move on to the roadmap. They're basically still building on that. They have an extremely large roadmap, have already implemented a lot of it, and basically want to further integrate into various systems, build new partnerships, and continue developing DeFi products. And you can tell that they have a plan, that they are already building things, and that they have really implemented their roadmap in the past. It's always important not just to focus on the roadmap, in that it's not just about the meaning, but also about the implementation. So that's a 7 out of 10. Next, we come to the team, and they are ultimately an experienced team from the fintech and blockchain developer community. They have a good background, technology, but also finance is very well positioned there. 8 out of 10. Next, we come to the narrative. What narratives are they addressing? Well, the payment, let's say, narrative. Then DeFi. So they are well positioned there, especially regarding XRP. It's another system. The topic of payments is becoming increasingly relevant and will also be an important narrative in the future. So that's an 8 out of 10. Yes, and then what problem does it ultimately solve? That you can really pay easily with cryptocurrencies in everyday life. That's extremely relevant because cryptocurrencies will continue to gain momentum in the future and will be increasingly integrated into everyday life, allowing for easy payments, and they solve that problem. 9 of 10. The tokenomics, how strong is the tokenomics? It's well balanced, has a strong ecosystem, and is very solid. So that's an 8 out of 10. What about the investors? They are ultimately supported by DWF Labs, and they also have a good, let's say, trust from institutional investors. They are not as far along as perhaps others like Ethereum or Solana. They are solidly positioned there. So that's also a 7 out of 10. So how does it look in terms of capital? They are in a robust position and have a lot of capital. The coin already has its value, and they definitely have a good, let's say, background. They also weathered the bear market well. That's always very important and shows that they definitely have capital. 8 out of 10. So how does it look in terms of marketing? Marketing is really important for the project's success and to have visibility. They are active on social media, and they also have, let's say, certain partners they work with. Of course, 7 out of 10. Stop. If you really appreciate such in-depth analyses, then feel free to leave a like now. Thank you very much for that. It supports me and my channel and of course the algorithm. I also found an altcoin this week that has extreme potential. The tokenomics is very strong and has a good team. I analyzed it based on my 20 indicators. The video will be released next weekend. Don't miss this at all. So subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to activate the bell, and then we'll see each other in the next video.
And now we continue right away. Yeah, how does the idea look? How simple is the idea? And in the end, it's simple. Everyone understands that in the end, you can pay with cryptocurrency easily in everyday life. So the idea behind this altcoin is very good and easy to understand. So how does the long-term vision look? They ultimately want to be the global leader in the crypto payment sector and of course in the area of DeFi and financial services. So they have a plan, they're very well positioned, the long-term vision is there, and they're mainly working on implementing it. 8 out of 10. Maximal supply, that's extremely good, very important for the token in the end, so that not an infinite amount can still be produced or created. Well positioned, 7 out of 10. So how does it look in terms of completeness? The diluted market capitalization is at 1.18 times the market cap, so it's a good and fair valuation. 8 out of 10. So how does the volume look? What about the liquidity? That's well above my threshold, which means it has high liquidity in the market, which is extremely relevant and important, so it gets a 9 out of 10. So how does the token distribution look now? The token distribution was fair at the beginning, so they are well positioned there. 8 out of 10. Then they have many top coin holders, or it is rather small. A smaller number of top coin holders naturally makes it more decentralized, and the risk of a certain price pressure because these coin holders ultimately sell their tokens is of course high. But here it is only moderate, the concentration is rather low, hence 7 out of 10. On one hand, it can certainly be used for payment tokens, for staking, but also for benefits within the ecosystem. So it has a lot of advantages because everything is built on that, which is why it gets an 8 out of 10. And then the next point, the community is active on Reddit, Twitter, and Telegram, so they are active in all the major areas, which means they are well positioned and solid. 7 out of 10. And how does the current market situation look? They are very well positioned because it is becoming increasingly relevant, as I mentioned earlier. More and more cryptocurrencies are now being integrated into everyday life. Ultimately, the politics, especially in America, are positively inclined towards this, meaning there are regulatory certainties, and therefore adoption is continuously progressing. 7 out of 10. Well, then let's get to the results. 87.3% is an extremely good result. For market capitalization, it's still quite low, which means there's definitely potential for massive gains. So even 100x is still possible. Then we have the circulating supply, which is already quite high, meaning the price pressure from new coins entering the market is not as strong anymore. Then we have a solid roadmap that has also been implemented very well in the past, so they are well positioned and know what they want. So the team is solid from the blockchain sector, but the finance sector is also good. Then we have an important narrative in the financial sector that is also needed in everyday life. They solve a significant problem and ultimately have a solid tokenomics. Investors and capital are also solid, although there definitely needs to be a bit more in the future. Then they also need to catch up a bit in marketing and social media. As for simplicity, the idea is certainly there. Then it's deflationary, with a maximum supply, which is already a good thing. And ultimately the volume, meaning the liquidity, is very high, which definitely speaks in favor of the coin. So the utility is definitely there. I mean, the token can be used for everything important on the platform. And ultimately, the current situation is very positive. Now let's move on to the price forecast for Alchemy Pay. Ultimately, if everything goes normally, it would be 0.6. If things go significantly better, in an optimistic scenario, it could be 1.2. And if everything really takes off and there's an extreme price surge, then it could reach 2.4, which is an extremely good result. These are all possibilities depending on where the entire crypto market ultimately moves. Yes, Avalanche can handle everything: gaming, artificial intelligence, meme coins, and RWAs. If you're just looking for an altcoin that covers all the narratives for 2025, then I'll show you now why Avalanche would be my choice. And I can only say this much: even I was really surprised by this analysis. Yeah, and then let's just get started. So, what is Avalanche first of all? It's a layer 1 blockchain, basically, that's quickly scalable, so it's easily expandable, and it can connect well with other chains, which is becoming increasingly important. And it was founded back in 2020. I'm going to analyze Avalanche with you. Now, going through my 20 metrics in really detailed fashion. If you don't know my 20 metrics yet, then I'll link a video up here where I explain them. Otherwise, you can see here on the side, and then let's dive right into the analysis. So how much potential does it actually still have? We'll get to that later. It's definitely a high cap altcoin, but it still has good potential. So 6, and then we come to the circulating supply. 57% of the tokens are already in circulation,
That's definitely a positive thing because, in the end, a high percentage of coins already being out there contributes to price stability and also stabilizes trust in the project. 7 out of 10. And then we come to the roadmap. Well, what does the roadmap tell us? Basically, it's about how future-proof a project is and whether it has already implemented certain points. And they are very stable. They have basically further increased the stabilization, so to speak. Then, they developed more tools for developers, and overall, they're on a very good path and have already reached their milestones. And they actually keep going into further narratives, which I mentioned at the beginning, so 8 out of 10. And then we come to the team. How good is the team at Avalanche? In the end, a strong team is important, I would say, to ensure transparency, and having an experienced team is definitely crucial for long-term success. So they're well positioned, they have computer specialists, but they also have blockchain specialists and people from the finance sector. So an extremely strong team, 9 of 10. Next, we come to the point about narratives. As I mentioned before, they cover several narratives. So if you're looking for a blockchain that really aligns with many narratives, then it's AVAX. So, as I said, Layer 1 gaming, artificial intelligence, RWAs, meme coins. It's all there, 8 out of 10. And then we come to the next point. What problem does it solve? It aims to solve the problem of the blockchain trilemma. So basically decentralized, secure, and also scalable. And they're doing that very well. They're on a good path. They've already solved many points, 9 out of 10. And then we come to the next point, the tokenomics. It has a capped limit, so basically a maximum limit, and it has a deflationary mechanism, which is very good. A strong, solid tokenomics, 8 out of 10. Then we come to the investors, which are also extremely important. What role do investors play in the project? Good investors definitely enhance credibility. Polychain Capital is involved, along with 3 Arrows Capital, which are already very big players, and they're very well positioned. The big investors are investing, so that's 9 out of 10. So how much capital do they have? That builds a bit on the previous point. They have enough capital to continue working on their roadmap even in a bear market. They're very stable in that regard, which is extremely important, especially in a bear market when not many inflows are coming in. Right now, in a bull market, it's not that relevant, but they're well positioned in that regard, 8 out of 10. The next point is marketing. How are they positioned there? They're well positioned there. And they also place value on being visible. I mean, having a really good marketing strategy is extremely relevant to becoming visible as a project, especially in this competitive market of layer 1s. They are really well positioned, 8 to 10. Stop. If you appreciate such in-depth altcoin analyses, then I have a secret tip for you. I found an altcoin that really has an interesting tokenomics, a strong team, and a good price forecast. My analysis of this altcoin will be out this weekend. Subscribe to my channel now and don't forget to hit the bell so you don't miss any insights in the future. And then we move right on. Yeah, how easy is the idea to understand? In the end, the project is really easy to understand, especially for new investors, since retail is increasingly entering the market. And yes, it's easy to understand. It's a platform that, as I said, has a lot of use cases and ultimately plays into many narratives, so they are well positioned there too. 8 out of 10. So what's the long-term vision of Avalanche? Their long-term vision is basically to continue expanding their blockchain, making it accessible to more and more people, and to keep being innovative. You can see that just by the fact that they keep investing in different narratives and expanding their blockchain in that regard. So 8 out of 10. And then the next point, does it have a maximum supply? Is it ultimately deflationary? And yes, it has both. It has a maximum supply, very good. And it's also deflationary due to burning mechanisms. 9 out of 10. Now let's talk about the fully diluted market capitalization compared to the market capitalization. That basically means if the value, let's say, is less than 10 times the market cap, then it has a healthy valuation. And here it's definitely the case. It has a very healthy valuation, 8 out of 10. Then volume compared to market capitalization. Is it bigger than? And that's definitely the case. I'd say Avalanche has a high liquidity value. There's a lot of trading going on. Very, very good. 9 out of 10. And then we come to the token distribution. They were distributed fairly through certain mechanisms, especially at the beginning. That was all very positive. And 7 out of 10. Are the top coin holders kept as low as possible? And in the end, it's a decentralized distribution, which is very positive. Not too many holders really have extreme amounts, so that's good. 7 out of 10. So what benefits does Avalanche actually have staking for the gas fees then as an ecosystem to be able to access it? And like I said, if it then also goes into certain areas, it has more and more advantages because of course more and more developers are building on it. So from that perspective, 8 out of 10. Then we come to the community. They have an active community on Twitter, on Reddit, they're very active there, and they also have a strong developer community, which is very important. 8 out of 10. And then we come to the last point, the current market situation. We're just about to see another breakout. Avalanche hasn't had such extreme growth yet, so they still have significant potential. The altcoin season is going to continue, so we're really well positioned there. They're in a good narrative, as already mentioned. All in all, very positive. 8 out of 10. Yes, we're already getting to the result. 77.8% is a solid result, especially for a layer 1 platform. As I said, it has its strong values, but it also has weaknesses like every altcoin in the end. But they are extremely well positioned for the bull run next year. Now let's move on to the price forecast. I've got 3 price developments in mind, depending on how the entire crypto market evolves at certain points. We have 105, which would be in the bear case. Then 210 would be an improvement, and if everything goes extremely well for the entire crypto market, it could reach 315, so there's still huge growth. Today we will analyze Bitcoin together based on my 20 metrics using my exclusive 10x formula, and I can only say that the result surprised even me. Yes, and then we will get started right away. What is Bitcoin anyway? It is a layer 1 blockchain with proof of work. Ultimately, it is seen as digital gold, especially against inflation. Founded in 2008, ultimately as a response to the financial crisis at that time. And then we come directly back to my 10x formula. I highly recommend this video where I explain the 10x formula in detail and my 20 metrics. Then we will dive directly into the analysis, starting with the market capitalization. It stands at $1.72 trillion. That is already extremely high. Therefore, I would say that the potential is somewhat limited, at least in this bull run. In the long term, I see Bitcoin at over $1 million, therefore a rating of only 3 out of 10 for this bull run. Then, what about the circulating supply? 94%, that is extremely good, meaning there is essentially no risk of inflation, therefore 10 out of 10. And the next point, the roadmap. How is it? Well, Bitcoin doesn't have a classic roadmap in that sense, but it does have proposals that can ultimately be voted on. But it doesn't have a classic roadmap, therefore 6 out of 10. Then the next point, how is the team? Well, in that sense, Bitcoin doesn't have a direct team, rather, it is a decentralized team, a community of global developers who make it open source. Therefore, 7 out of 10. Then the next point, what narratives does Bitcoin have? Well, as digital gold of course, and as a store of value, so very relevant, therefore 9 out of 10. And then the next point, what problem does Bitcoin solve? Well, it is the decentralized alternative to fiat currencies and ultimately to the financial system. It is against inflation because it is ultimately the rarest, yes, I would say the rarest digital asset in the world. Digital gold, extremely important, extremely relevant, 10 out of 10. And then the next point, how is the economy? Well, it is ultimately fixed at 21 million bitcoins. It always has, I would say, halving periods, which ultimately reduces the main supply. This is extremely positive. As a result, it becomes, let's say, increasingly rare to obtain, and thus actually more valuable in the long run. Therefore, 9 out of 10. And then the next point, what about the investors? Well, there are already many institutional investors, including BlackRock, and then there is the ETF. This means that more and more can really invest in Bitcoin through the ETF, including pension funds and so on. So this is extremely positive, 8 out of 10. And then the next chapter. Well, it is such that ultimately the capital mainly comes in through the community in that sense. Bitcoin is not a company in that sense and therefore does not have capital in the traditional sense. It is the entire community, but also, as mentioned, institutional investors. And so on, therefore, 7 out of 10. And then the next point, what does such marketing look like? Well, Bitcoin does not have its own marketing department because it is decentralized, but ultimately, it is organic growth through the community and the media.
The higher the price rises, the more Bitcoin naturally comes into the media. 8 out of 10. Stop. Before I continue, I must tell you something. I discovered an altcoin that ultimately has massive potential. It still has a relatively low market cap, which for us investors means that it carries more risk, but of course also much more potential. I will upload this altcoin next weekend, the entire analysis based on my 20 metrics with my 10x formula. And if you don't want to miss that, then subscribe to my channel and don't forget to activate the bell, so you really don't miss any insights. And now let's continue. So, is Bitcoin easy to understand? And yes, it is easy to understand. Decentralized digital currency, easy to understand. Digital gold, 9 out of 10. And then the next point. What is the long-term vision? As ultimately a store of value, of course, and long-term as a global reserve currency. More and more countries, I would say, are also supported by Bitcoin, such as America, therefore 9 out of 10. Then the next point is that it is deflationary. It has a maximum supply. And yes, it has both. It has a maximum supply of 21 million Bitcoins. And through the halving cycles, it is also deflationary. Yes, perfect, 10 out of 10. Then the next point. How does the fully diluted market capitalization compare to the market capitalization? Well, ultimately, it is quite close to both, therefore it is extremely positive. This ultimately means that there are no more nasty surprises, 10 out of 10. And then, how is the volume through market capitalization? So, how is the liquidity? It stands at 0.094. This is significantly above the reference value. So extremely liquid, extremely positive, 10 out of 10. And then, how is the token distribution? Well, it is decentralized, so there are quite few risks for a massive selling pressure, therefore 9 out of 10. And the next point are the top coin holders, as few as possible. And yes, there is only a moderate concentration of those who hold a really large amount of Bitcoin, all still within absolute limits, therefore 7 out of 10. And then the next point, what is the utility of Bitcoin? Well, on one hand, for purchasing, for payment so to speak, then as a store of value and of course increasingly in everyday life for purchasing phone-on products. So, it has extremely many advantages and extremely many uses, 10 out of 10. And the next point, the community, how is it? Well, it has an extremely large community and I would say many developers who really support the coin and Bitcoin. In the end, extremely positive, 10 out of 10. And then, what is the current situation? Well, in the bear market, Bitcoin was quite resilient. Now, as the bull market really starts, on one hand we have America, which is really favorable towards Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. The Bitcoin ETF is here. And generally, institutional investors are increasingly investing in Bitcoin. And additionally, retail investors are coming back into the market, which is extremely positive, therefore 9 out of 10. And then we come directly to the result, 94.7%, an extremely good result. Bitcoin has an extremely good economy and ultimately has an extremely good foundation. The only thing that remains, I would say, in the long term is that the growth potential is enormous. In the short term, it is a bit limited, but it still has its absolute value and still has an extreme growth ratio to the market capitalization. Yes, and then we come directly to the forecast. So, again at the top, what is in fact the worst case, neutral in quotation marks normal case, and the optimistic case, meaning in the worst case from the perspective of artificial intelligence as well, $126,000, and in the best case $252,000. So there is still extreme potential, from now on a 2.5 to 5x, hence a great result. In this video, I analyze BNB in detail using my 20 metrics to explain why I believe BNB will soon experience a huge price swing. All of this in this video. So, what is BNB actually? Well, it is also a layer 1 blockchain with proof of stake, cheap and fast. Ultimately, it is from the Binance exchange, so it is extremely relevant. It was founded in 2017. To help you understand my 20 metrics, I will link a video up here where I present all 20 metrics in detail, and then we will get started right away. What is the market capitalization of BNB in the end? Well, it is already 90 billion in the end. That means, let's say the growth is of course still a bit reduced, so only 5 out of 10. Then the next point, how does the circulating supply look? Well, 72% of BNB coins are already in circulation. That is extremely positive. This means that the risk of inflation, meaning that a lot of coins will be thrown onto the market, which would naturally create price pressure, is low, 10 out of 10. Then the next point, how does the roadmap look? Well, BNB has a clear roadmap, ultimately wants to continue expanding its ecosystem, continuously introducing new features, and also has a good synergy effect with the Binance cryptocurrency exchange. I would say an 8 out of 10. Then the next point, how does the team look? Well, as I said, it was founded by Binance, so it has a strong and good team behind it. Extremely positive, 9 out of 10. And then, what narratives does it have? Of course, it is a layer 1 blockchain. But also the narrative simply is that it has the advantage through the Binance exchange. So many who use the Binance exchange ultimately also access the BNB chain. That is positive, a good narrative, 8 out of 10. And the next question is, what problem does the BNB chain ultimately solve? Well, on one hand, it is quickly scalable and ultimately cheaper than other blockchains, and ultimately these synergy effects between Binance and BNB. So, what tokenomics does it have? Well, it regularly burns coins, so quarterly, which is very good, and therefore this will also drive the price up in the future. 9 out of 10. Then the next point is, how do the investors look? Well, it had, let's say, many institutional investors, but retail is definitely positive as well. 7 out of 10. And the next point, how does it look in terms of capital? Well, it has Binance behind it, the largest cryptocurrency exchange that exists, so extremely positive. They have enough money for development, 9 out of 10. Then marketing, how does it look there? Well, Binance, and especially CZ, the founder of Binance, has ultimately promoted it repeatedly since 2001. Which is of course positive. They have their strong marketing through the Binance exchange as well. 8 out of 10. Next weekend I will upload an analysis of an altcoin that really surprised me immensely. So if you don't want to miss that, feel free to subscribe to my channel, then activate the bell so you won't miss any insights in the future and have a knowledge advantage. And now let's continue directly. So, what about the idea? Well, the idea behind Binance and BNB as a combination is easy to understand. Anyone who ultimately buys things on the Binance exchange also knows the BNB chain. 9 out of 10. The next point is, what about the long-term vision? Well, ultimately they want to continue growing, especially together with Binance as a global ecosystem in the cryptocurrency space. 8 out of 10. And the next point is this deflationary aspect regarding the maximum supply. Ultimately, there is a maximum supply of 200 million and it has quarterly token burning, which is very positive. 9 out of 10. Then the next point, the fully improved market stabilization. It is close to the market cap, which is very positive. 8 out of 10. Then the next point, liquidity. The value is very good, very liquid. 10 out of 10. Then the next point, the token distribution. Well, it was ultimately distributed fairly and also through lockup periods, which is always good. 8 out of 10. Then the next point, the top holders, are they as low as possible? There is a moderate concentration. Therefore, this naturally reduces market manipulation. 7 out of 10. And the next point, what benefits does it have? Well, transaction fees, staking, then governance, then usage on the Binance platform, reduction of fees on Binance. So, extremely many advantages. 9 out of 10. Then the next, how is the community? Well, it has a large community that is also gaining more momentum, partly due to Binance 2021, extremely positive. 8 out of 10. Then the current market situation. Well, BNB has performed very well even in the bear market. What speaks to me for this, and this is what I mentioned at the beginning in the intro, is that BNB is expected to see extreme growth in the future because it is fundamentally very strong. It has the Binance chains. Let's say as supporters, it has CZ. Then it is such that it continuously evolves, and when the altcoin begins, Binance will definitely be a big beneficiary. Then we come to the result. 89.6%. Extremely solid tokenomics. As I mentioned, I like BNB. I think it's a good chain. I find it fast. I find it cheap. Extremely positive. Then we come to the forecast. Well, again, in the end, the worst case scenario is the normal case, and in the end, the most optimistic case. So, between that, everything is possible. Like 5 to 12 times, so an extreme growth potential. I discovered an interesting altcoin from the RWA narrative, which particularly caught my attention due to its tokenomics, and I didn't want to withhold it from you. I analyzed it in detail based on my 20 metrics, and made a price prediction using my 10x formula. Now let's get straight to the analysis. First of all, what is Centrifuge actually? Well, it is a DeFi platform that ultimately digitizes RWAs and issues them as tokens, real estate, or also invoices. So very relevant, and was founded in 2017. And then we first come to my 10x formula, where I ultimately have 20 metrics. And if you really want to see this formula and have it explained, then I highly recommend this video up there, where I explain it in detail. Then let's get started directly with the first point. What is the market capitalization? It is at $198 million, which means it is in the mid-cap sector, so there is still extreme potential. 7 out of 10. Then the next point, how is the circulating supply? Well, 560 million is ultimately the total supply, and 91% are already in circulation, which is extremely good. This indicates that inflation is not high and there is no risk of greater price pressure arising from this, therefore 9 out of 10. And the next point, the roadmap. Well, as I said, we ultimately want to tokenize real-world assets in the DeFi space, so to speak, and in that sense they also have a strong roadmap that specifically aims at this and ultimately returns finances to the investors, so it has clear advantages. 8 out of 10. And the next point, how does the team look? Well, they definitely have an interesting team. Expertise is definitely there, coming from the fintech and blockchain sector, and ultimately they are also very well positioned, therefore 8 out of 10. And the next point, the narrative. Well, as already mentioned, it is the RWA narrative. It is of course very relevant for the upcoming / for the bull run that is just starting, therefore very important, and 7 out of 10. And the next point, what problem does it solve? Well, it solves the problem that, in the end, as already mentioned, for example, it ultimately represents real estate as tokens and thus makes it accessible in the DeFi sector on the platform, which is of course a huge advantage and does not exist yet. 9 out of 10. Then the next point, what about the tokenomics? Well, there is ultimately a maximum supply, which is good, but it is not deflationary. Still, it is used for various use cases and has its incentives, so 8 out of 10. And the next point, what about the investors? Well, Coinbase Ventures has invested, and they also have some good capital providers, which is very positive for the project's liquidity, so 8 out of 10. And the next point, what about capital? Well, as already mentioned, it has enough capital to effectively implement its roadmap and also, for example, to be able to withstand bear markets, which is very positive, so 8 out of 10. And the next point, how do you see marketing? So they are already active on social media and through partnerships and also through various events, but that can definitely be improved. Still to be expanded. Stop, I really have to tell you something. I discovered an altcoin this week that really caught my attention because it ultimately comes from the AI sector, so artificial intelligence, very relevant narratives. Then it has a relatively low market cap, and at the same time the tokenomics are really strong. So all 3 points are really positive. And what's also strange is that not many people are aware of it yet. So I will do my complete analysis again next weekend based on my 20 metrics and my 10x formula. If you don't want to miss it, feel free to subscribe to my channel and don't forget to activate the bell so you don't miss the video and also don't miss any insights in the future. And now, let's continue directly. Yes, and let's continue. What is the idea? How simple is it? I would say it is relatively complex, especially in the DeFi area and RWAs regarding the technology. Therefore, only 6 out of 10. And then the next point, what does the long-term vision look like? They ultimately want to merge the financial sector with the RWA sector through DeFi, so extremely relevant, 8 out of 10. And the next point is it deflationary and does it have a maximum supply? So it ultimately has a maximum supply of 560 million tokens, but it does not have a deflationary mechanism, which is of course not optimal, therefore 6 out of 10. And the next point, what about the fully diluted market capitalization? And ultimately, the fully diluted market capitalization is at 180,000, 9 out of 10. And the next point, how does our volume look? Which means it is already quite liquid. That is positive. Therefore 7 out of 10. And the next point, the token distribution. Well, it has been the case that the investors who got in at the very beginning have a lockup period, which is positive. This of course means that there is not so much selling pressure, therefore 8 out of 10. And the next point, how do the top coin holders look? The top 10 wallets hold 55%, which is quite a lot. There are indeed institutional buys in the end and also exchanges, but that is already quite high, therefore 5 out of 10. And the next point, what advantages and use case does the coin have? Well, first governance, then also the protocol, so that you have access to it, staking, and of course DeFi. So there are already many use cases, therefore 9 out of 10. And the next point is the community. It is active on Twitter, which is always good. Twitter is of course very relevant in the crypto space. They also regularly update on Discord and keep the community informed, ultimately sharing the latest news. It's quite positive, therefore 7 out of 10. So then the last point, what does the current market situation look like? Well, it is well positioned because of RWA and DeFi. That is definitely a good combination. Therefore 8 out of 10. And then we already come to the result, 56.9%. That is extremely positive, as mentioned in the intro. I think it has very good tokenomics for being an RWA. And is very positive in the DeFi space, definitely very solid. Here everything is broken down in detail for transparency, and then we come to the forecast. Well, so in the end, in the pessimistic scenario, it could reach 10x, which would be 196. Then, if it goes normally, 50x, which would be up to about $10. And if it were a really extreme bull scenario, it would be 100x, and then it would be almost $20. So, extremely positive.
$105 and $30 for Link. Why Chainlink is a game changer. So let's get right into Chainlink. First of all, what is Chainlink actually? It's a decentralized Oracle network. It ultimately connects smart contracts with the real world. So it's extremely relevant, allowing blockchain applications to access off-chain applications. It's a leading provider, and ultimately Chainlink is also compatible with multiple blockchains. So it's extremely important. It was founded back in 2017, so it's been on the market for quite a while. Now we're going to go through all my 20 metrics and basically analyze Chainlink. If you don't know my 20 metrics yet, I've linked them here. Feel free to pause or skip ahead, or you can check out the video above where I explain these in detail. And then we'll jump right into the analysis. First of all, the market capitalization is already a high cap altcoin. The question now is, how much potential does Chainlink still have? All of that in this video. Then secondly, the circulating supply is at 62%. That's already very solid. Which means that not too many tokens can come onto the market and create price pressure. 8 out of 10. And basically the point is the roadmap. What does it look like? They definitely want to continue expanding, stabilizing, and improving their Oracle services soon. And of course, they also want to reach out to even more blockchains, which is extremely relevant. They're definitely very well positioned when it comes to the roadmap. 8 out of 10. And then we come to the team. So, who actually founded Chainlink? Yes, they are basically cryptographers and come from the field of smart contracts, which is very relevant. And Sergey Nazarov is quite well known, so they're really well positioned there. 9 out of 10. Here, basically, the narrative is the connection between blockchain technology and real-world applications to ensure the exchange of information. So they're really well positioned there because it has a use case in the real world. 9 out of 10. So, what problem does it ultimately solve? It transfers data from the blockchain to real-world applications, and of course it does this reliably and securely. So it's extremely relevant. 10 out of 10 on that point, because it simply has a use case. And many investors are already investing in Chainlink and want to combine it with their own efforts. Now let's talk about the tokenomics. Basically, Link is used to buy operator nodes, and they're already well positioned in that regard. A solid 8 out of 10. So what about the investors? Yes, Framework Ventures is, for example, on board. And they also have very strong backers. It's also very well known in the market right now. So 8 out of 10. So how's the capital looking? They've really secured an extremely high amount of capital already. And that shows, of course, that many people support the project. So they're really well positioned there. 8 out of 10. So how's the marketing looking? A strong marketing strategy is obviously crucial for the success of the project. And on one hand, they have partnerships in real life, let's say, that are really utilized on a daily basis. Then there's also a good large online community, and developers are really well positioned in this area. 8 out of 10. Stop. If you appreciate such in-depth analyses, then subscribe to my channel now and activate the bell so you don't miss any insights. I upload an altcoin analysis every Saturday and Sunday, and at the end, I give a price prediction and a result in percentage. And now we continue right away. So, how simple is the idea? In the end, it's simple. It basically connects blockchain technology with real-world data and serves as an information exchange. So in that area, it's 9 out of 10. They want to expand further and of course be the dominant player in the market, so to speak. They want to further develop their blockchain, also onto several other blockchains. In the end, they have a clear vision, 9 out of 10. Then it's deflationary as a maximum supply. It doesn't have a deflationary mechanism, but in the end, Link has a maximum supply, which is good, 8 out of 10. It's basically in a good range, which indicates that it's rated well at the moment, so that's 8 out of 10. Then volume through market capitalization, how liquid is shading. And it has an extremely high trading volume, very positive, 9 out of 10. What about the token distribution and lockup periods? The token distribution was fair at the beginning, it was decentralized, which is good, very well positioned, 8 out of 10. So, what about the top coin holders? It's quite decentralized and positioned positively in that area, so that's 7 out of 10. So what about the utility of Chainlink? Yes, for the Oracle service, it's extremely important, of course. Staking is also basically used to buy node operators, and it has a wide range of uses. If you want to use it, you have to access Link, which is extremely positive, 10 out of 10. The community. Chainlink has a strong community, they've been in the market for a long time and they're very well positioned there. They have good marketing, so that's 9 out of 10. What does the current market situation look like? They are currently the leader in their field, which is extremely positive. More and more companies want to use Chainlink and the adoption is progressing further. Extremely positive, 9 out of 10. Yes, then let's get to the result. We have 87.9% here. An incredibly good result because it simply has an extremely important use case. There are more and more institutional investors showing interest, but also companies. So they're extremely well positioned there and the result is justified. And then we come to the price forecast. In a normal case, $45. If it goes much better, $90. And if it goes extremely well, $135. So an extremely good result and a high price potential. Yes, now you'll get to know the potential. I'm analyzing Algorand and at the end I'll give a price prediction and explain why it surprised me, all of that in this video. So let's get started. What exactly is Algorand? It's essentially a layer 1 blockchain that aims to be efficient, fast and cost effective. And it's primarily focused on the DeFi and fintech sectors. And what is important is that it ultimately wants to be eco-friendly, meaning it is not too harmful to nature. Say, and was founded in 2019, so it has been on the market for a while. And now I'm analyzing Algorand based on my 20 metrics. What the 20 metrics are, I've explained them here, but I'll also link a video above where I go into detail about them for you, so feel free to check it out. And then we'll jump right into the analysis. First off, the market capitalization is already considered a high cap altcoin. The potential is still there, but of course it's not going to be a 50 or 100x anymore, so I'd rate it an 8 out of 10. And the second point is that the circulating supply is already at 83%. That's quite high, which means that a lot of tokens are already on the market, and that reduces the price pressure significantly. That's very, very positive. So I'd give it a 9 out of 10. And then we come to the next point, the roadmap. A roadmap is extremely important so that you can see that the team is working on things, has a vision and is implementing this vision. It doesn't help if you have a plan but then don't implement it. And they are focusing on further scalability, as well as on adoption. And of course, on being able to communicate better with other blockchains. So they're well positioned, I'd give them an 8 out of 10. And then we come to the next point, the team. It was founded by Silvio Micali, a cryptographer, so to speak, who also has a lot of experience in the computer field and in cryptography, which is extremely relevant. They have a very strong team and are technically extremely well positioned, also from a scientific perspective, so I'd give them a 9 out of 10. Then the narratives. What narratives are they addressing? Yes, the narrative is extremely important, especially now during the bull run of 2025. It's crucial for an altcoin to have a significant narrative,
And here they are in the layer 1 blockchain narrative, aiming to solve the trilemma. So basically scalable, secure, and fast. And they are well positioned for that, of course, in a cost-effective way. And they want to help build a decentralized financial system. I'd give it an 8 out of 10 as well. And what problem does Algorand ultimately solve? Well, as already mentioned, they want to solve the dilemma. They ultimately want to be efficient, scalable, fast, and eco-friendly, which is becoming increasingly important these days in the proof-of-stake mode. So they're doing really well there and solving important problems. 9 out of 10. What kind of ergonomics does Algorand ultimately have? Well, you can use Algorand for staking, for rewards, for transaction fees, basically, and within the Algorand ecosystem, so extremely positive. 8 out of 10. So what about the investors? Who actually invests in Algorand? It's supported, among others, by Erecton XRP Capital, and also, ultimately, Multicoin Capital. So renowned investors are ultimately betting on Algorand. 8 out of 10. So what kind of capital do they have? Capital is really important, especially in a bear market, to get through it. They have really weathered the bear market with flying colors, and they are very well positioned in terms of financial capital. 9 out of 10. And then we come to marketing. How well are they positioned in marketing? They have partnerships in the ecosystem, also thanks to good and strong developers, especially in the blockchain and fintech industry. So extremely important. They have good marketing and are very well positioned. 8 out of 10. Stop. You don't want to miss any altcoins in the future. I analyze altcoins and then ultimately make a price forecast. I upload an altcoin analysis every Saturday and Sunday. If you don't want to miss out, definitely subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to activate the bell so you don't miss any insights. And now let's continue right away. Yeah, how simple is the idea? A simple idea is important to understand, especially for investors who aren't very tech savvy. They should be able to immediately grasp whether it's a good investment or not, and understand what the use case is in the end. And here it's really easy to understand. As I said, it's a fast, cost-effective, secure blockchain, a layer 1 blockchain that is also eco-friendly. I think everyone understands that, so 9 out of 10. So what's the long-term vision of Algorand? They definitely want to further develop blockchain technology in the financial sector, building decentralized applications that are really focused on scalability and ultimately sustainability. That's very relevant. No other blockchain really emphasizes that much, at least not among the leading blockchains. So they're well positioned there. 9 out of 10. Then Algorand has the most deflationary maximum supply. Yeah, and they have a maximum supply, which is very good. And as I mentioned at the beginning, many tokens are already in circulation, which is very positive. 8 out of 10. So, what about the fully diluted market capitalization? It basically shows whether a project is fairly valued, and in this case it's very close to the normal market cap, which means it's fairly valued. So that's also a 10 out of 10. Then there's volume. How liquid is Algorand is actually extremely important if you want to sell your algo, and they are extremely liquid. They have a very strong value and they are traded a lot. 9 out of 10. So how has the token distribution been? At the very beginning it was fair, and in the end, yeah, it was fair. That was also done, among other things, with staking at the beginning. It was definitely a fair distribution, so 8 out of 10. Then the top coin holders, they should be as low as possible, which is extremely important. If there are only 2 or 3 top coin holders who have, let's say, 80% of the tokens, then it's clear that they can manipulate the market at any time. That's definitely not the case with Algorand. On the contrary, they are quite decentralized. And in the end, they don't have too many holders who have too much influence. 8 out of 10. So what is the actual use of Algorand? Well, you can use Algorand for governance, for staking, for decentralized applications. And of course, on the Algorand blockchain, it has many uses in the end. So that's also a 9 out of 10. So how strong is the Algorand community? And it is very strong, focusing on further development. And because they also want to continue making their mark in the real world and drive adoption forward, the community is definitely involved in that area. So that's 8 out of 10. And then we come to the last point about the current market situation. They are very well positioned, especially when it comes to adoption through fintech and, of course, decentralized finance. And they are definitely leading in the eco-friendly area, which is very positive. So then there's also the altcoin season, which is gaining more and more momentum. All in all, extremely good signs. 8 out of 10, and now we come to the result. 92.1% was extremely good. That's what I mentioned at the beginning. The result totally surprises me. But I'm happy about it because it's an extremely good result. They are very well positioned, they have a solid tokenomics, they have an extremely strong team, they have good tech, they are eco-friendly, which is a narrative that other blockchains don't have to the same extent. So they are extremely well positioned. Yeah, and what's the price prediction now? So we have three options again, depending on how the entire crypto market moves, between 5 and 10 in the end. And we're here at $150, and then $3, or $4.50. Those are three options. It can definitely still go up further. Now that you know in this video, I analyze Litecoin using 120 metrics and see if it can really achieve a 10x growth. I can only say this much. There was a surprising result that even I did not expect. So let's move on to the analysis of Litecoin. First, I will present my 20 metrics, then I will go into a deep analysis, and finally I will provide a conclusion and a price forecast. And this will surprise you. First, here are my 20 metrics. I hold this video dear to you. I have explained all 20 metrics in detail for you. This is very important. And then it all starts. First, the market capitalization is at 5.46 billion. In the end, I would say it is already in the high cap sector, but still has a moderate rating, score 5 out of 10. Then the next point, the circulating distribution, it ultimately stands at 75 million Litecoin, which is at 89%. That is very, very positive. This indicates that the inflation risk is no longer that high, score 10 out of 10. Then the next point, the roadmap. Well, Litecoin does have its goals, and ultimately, it has a stable roadmap built on network stability and of course the expansion of the network. Yes, but with limited innovation. Score 6 out of 10. Then the team. How is the team? Well, founded by Charlie Lee, I think everyone knows him. He is very well known. In any case, it has a team that is very experienced, including Google engineers, and I would say is also supported by the Litecoin Foundation. The team is very well positioned, therefore 8 out of 10. Then, the next point, the narrative. Well, it is of course known as the silver in contrast to Bitcoin, so to speak. And therefore it already has a presence, but score 6 out of 10. Then, the next point, what problem does Litecoin solve? Well, in the end, it solves the problem that there are cheaper transactions and faster transactions as an alternative to Litecoin. Regarding that, score 8 out of 10. The next point, how is the tokenomics of Litecoin? Well, tokenomics has a limited supply, which is already good, and a halving mechanism like Litecoin. Score 7 out of 10. The investors, well, are mostly from the community, I would say, and there are a few larger investors, but not that many, therefore only 4 out of 10. Then, the capital. Well, it's based on the community, I would say, and therefore has less massive capital, therefore only 5 out of 10. Then, the marketing. Well, it has a strong presence in social media in the end, and is widely supported by the community, therefore 6 out of 10. Then the next point, is it easy to understand? And it is very easy to understand, as in the end, Litecoin is the gold and against Litecoin the silver, therefore easy to understand, score 10 out of 10. So, what about the long-term vision? Well, it's about further increasing stability and ultimately having less innovation, rather focusing on the fundamentals. 5 out of 10. Then, the next point, it's deflationary with a maximum supply. And it has a maximum of 84 million Litecoins and ultimately deflationary through halving, very good, 8 out of 10. And then the next point, what about the fully diluted market capitalization? Well, it is already close to the market capitalization, and therefore I would say no overvaluation. 10 out of 10, that's very good. And what about the volume by market cap? Well, it is at 0.06, which means it is already quite liquid and I would say very appealing, therefore 8 out of 10. What about the token distribution? Well, it is ultimately decentralized, fairly distributed, and there are only a few larger holders. therefore 8 out of 10. So, how does it look? How high are the top coin holders? Well, they are relatively low. Litecoin is very decentralized. The risk of manipulation is not that high. 7 out of 10. So, what about the use case? Well, the use case is of course as a payment method, and it served as, let's say, a test net for Litecoin back then. And it definitely has a score of 7 out of 10 because the token already has its use case. So, how about the community? Well, it's a large community that really supports well and is, in the end, very active on social media and forums. So 8 out of 10. And then the news, the current situation, is also positively influenced by the overall market, although Litecoin doesn't really cater to such a narrative. I would say still 6 out of 10. And then we come to the result. It scores 71%. Here you can also see how everything is weighted individually and how it is balanced. Ultimately, this follows my 10x formula. By the way, there's a video up there where I explain the 10x formula in detail. And in the end, yes, 71% is a solid result. Then we come to the forecast. Yes, if the entire, let's say, crypto market really reaches a certain level, then Litecoin can actually reach $850 to $1,000, which is an 11 to 14x. I personally didn't expect that, and I'm very positively surprised that it is still realistic for it to reach that much. Therefore, very good. If you are looking for an exchange where you want to buy Litecoin, I have linked my preferred exchange below, which I recommend. Feel free to use the link, as it also supports my channel. Thank you very much for that. And if you don't want to miss any future altcoin analyses, please subscribe to my channel. I would be very happy if you give this a like if you enjoyed this video. Yes, then thank you for watching and see you in the next video.
If you want to know what the price forecast for XLM is, then you're in the right place with this video. I analyze XLM based on my 20 metrics, using my 10x formula in detail, and at the end, I'll provide a price forecast and a percentage result, so you can assess whether XLM is worth investing in for you. And the price forecast really surprised me. So what exactly is XLM? It's a decentralized product. Colt, just like XRP, is essentially a competitor that aims to make payments and international transfers cheap and fast. And that's the use case. It was founded back in 2014, so it's been on the market for a long time and is of course currently benefiting from the XRP hype. First of all, I highly recommend this video up here, where I present my 20 metrics in detail, and then we'll dive straight into the analysis. It's a high cap altcoin, which means the growth potential isn't gigantic anymore, at least not in this bull run, but there's still a high growth potential. 6 out of 10. And the next point, the circulating quantity is already at 60. That's good. It's above the threshold of 30%, which indicates that not many more tokens will ultimately enter the market that could potentially lead to price pressure. So that's 8 out of 10. And then the next point, the roadmap. So basically, they are focusing on becoming more scalable and ultimately expanding the smart contracts further. And of course, strengthening the use case, which I rate 7 out of 10. Then there's the team, which was co-founded by Jet McCullough, a prominent figure in the crypto space. He also has a team around him that comes from the finance and technology sectors, so it's very relevant, and they are very solidly positioned. 8 out of 10. Then the next point. I already mentioned the narrative. XRP is really hot right now, and the transactions are international, making them accessible to everyone. They're cheap, and ultimately they're secure. This is a very relevant narrative. It's 7 out of 10. And the next point, what problem does it solve? This ties a bit into the previous point. It addresses the issue of international payments being cheaper and faster. In the current fiat system, when you make a transfer, especially internationally, it can take up to days. If we're talking about large amounts like millions, it takes a long time and it's also expensive. That's just the problem, and this effectively solves that issue. So it's very relevant. That's just the problem, and this effectively solves that issue. 9 out of 10. Now let's move on to the tokenomics. They are solidly positioned because, of course, everything is based on the token through international payments. Very well positioned, 7 out of 10. And then the next point, what about the investors? It's actually great that investors like IBM are investing, which is very good. Institutional investors as well, 6 out of 10. And the next point, the capital, is basically managed by the Stellar Foundation, which is responsible for further development.
They obviously have quite high resources because of that. 7 out of 10. And the next point is marketing. They have partnerships, they have a community that they nurture, which ultimately supports them. That's very good. 6 out of 10. Stop. If you don't want to miss any more altcoin analysis, then subscribe to my channel now. And don't forget to activate the bell. I upload altcoin analyses every Saturday and Sunday using my 20 metrics to analyze them, and at the end I make a price prediction that results in a percentage. So you don't miss any insights, subscribe to my channel now, and then we'll continue right away. The idea, how simple is it? So the transaction, international cheap and fast, is a simple idea that pretty much everyone understands. So 8 out of 10 points. The long-term vision is to be further integrated into the global financial system, and also to achieve interoperability very quickly, which is of course very relevant. 7 out of 10. And the next point, inflationary maximum supply. It has a maximum supply, so it's not deflationary, which isn't really optimal. That's a 6 out of 10. And the next point, the fully diluted market capitalization is ultimately less than 2 times the market cap, which is very good and indicates a good valuation. So that's 7 out of 10. And then the next point, the volume to market cap ratio is at 0.04, which means it's already very liquid. And that's really good. 8 out of 10. And then the next point, here we have the token distribution. What does it look like? In the end, there are already quite a few tokens on the market, which is very good. And in the past, let's say, there were also lockup periods, which was actually very fair overall. And the burning of coins is actually good because it reduces the number of coins. 7 out of 10. And then the next point, the top coin holders should be as low as possible. Of course, a few central entities hold quite a few coins, which is suboptimal, so that's 5 out of 10. And the next point, what about the utility? Well, once for transaction fees, but in the end, it also has a clear benefit when dealing with smart contracts, because it's also used for international payments. 8 out of 10. And the next point, the community is very active on Twitter, Reddit, you know, the usual ones. Twitter is definitely one of the most important platforms in the crypto space in 2021. They also regularly provide updates on their social media accounts, which is very important, and they engage in discussions with the community, so that's 7 out of 10. And the last point, the current market situation. They are definitely benefiting from the fact that XRP currently has very good values. The hype is building up, and during the altcoin season, they will continue to rise, and I think they have potential. 6 out of 10. And then we come to the result, 86.8, a solid result with good tokenomics, a strong roadmap, and a good long-term vision, along with an important narrative that is currently emerging, so that's a good result. And then we come to the price prediction. Anywhere from 0.50 to 5 is possible, depending on how well the entire crypto market grows. It's a good result regarding the price prediction and still has clear potential.
In this video, I analyze Dogecoin in detail using my 20 metrics, and once again make a price prediction with my 10x formula on why Dogecoin, despite having really poor tokenomics, still has extreme potential. All of this in the video. So what is Dogecoin? It is a meme coin ultimately created through the fork from Litecoin, and in the end it is supported by Elon Musk. It was founded in 2013. I highly recommend this video above where I present my 20 metrics in detail, and then it will get started right away. Well, the market capitalization is 54 billion, so it still has potential to grow. 5 out of 10. Then the next point is circulating supply. Well, 100% are already in circulation, but since it has no maximum supply as a meme coin, it is relatively neutral, so only 5 out of 10. Then the next point is, how does the roadmap look? Well, in the end, it has no normal roadmap. It is more community-based, so only 4 out of 10. Then the next point is, how does the team look? Well, in the end, it was created by Billy Marcus and Jackson Palmer, and it does have a small developer community, but only 6 out of 10. Then the next point, how does the narrative look? Well, the narrative is of course meme coins, and especially the support from Elon Musk is very positive, hence 7 out of 10. The next point, what problem does Dogecoin ultimately solve? Well, it ultimately has blockchain technology and can be used for tipping for microtransactions. Therefore, only 5 out of 10. Then the next point, how does the tokenomics look? Well, it is inflationary, so not so good, only 4 out of 10. Then the next point, how do the investors look?
Well, it is ultimately less shaped by investors, more by retail investors, so personal investors, therefore only 3 out of 10. Then the next point, what does such capital look like? Well, it ultimately has no major investors, it is more shaped by the community, therefore only 3 out of 10. And the next point, how does marketing look? Well, it is ultimately mainly driven by a community, and through social media, of course, also by Elon Musk, and therefore only 6 out of 10. Stop. Next weekend, I will upload an altcoin analysis that really surprised me with mega potential and solid tokenomics. Really an interesting project. So if you don't want to miss it, subscribe to my channel and don't forget to hit the bell. Activate so you don't miss any insights in the future. And now let's continue directly. So how simple is the idea? Well, it is very simple. It's a meme coin. Everyone can understand it. Ultimately 9 out of 10. Then the next point, what about the long-term vision? Well, it doesn't have a long-term vision in that sense. It's more driven by community interest, so only 4 out of 10. Then the next point, is it deflationary in terms of maximum supply? And it is inflationary and has no maximum supply, so not good economics, therefore only 2 out of 10. The next point is fully diluted market capitalization. Well, because it is an inflationary model, it is also rather suboptimal, therefore 5 out of 10. The next point, what about liquidity? The liquidity is extremely good, very liquid in the market, 9 out of 10. Next point, how is the token distribution, the lockup periods? Well, it has been fairly distributed, so in that regard, everything is in the green. 7 out of 10. The next point, top coin holders should be as low as possible, and no, it is rather not the case. There are many coin holders who have extremely high holdings, so the risk of market manipulation is present, only 3 out of 10. The next point, what utility does it ultimately have? Well, I already mentioned it a bit earlier, microtransactions, tipping, not so much, 5 out of 10. Then how is the community? Well, it has a very strong community. It is supported by Elon Musk, so that is extremely positive, 9 out of 10. And then the next point, what is the current situation? Well, since Elon Musk has become increasingly politically active in America and ultimately makes America more efficient, and he effectively advises the US president in this regard. From that perspective, I assume it will be positive, therefore for now 6 out of the result, 66.1%. So purely based on numbers, data and facts, and due to the tokenomics, Dogecoin is not a good project, but since it is a meme coin, it does not rely much on these numbers, data and facts. Rather, it is driven by hype, especially by the hype from Elon Musk. Then we come to the price prediction. As I just mentioned, it is a meme coin, it is based on hype. Therefore, my price forecast is quite broad. In the worst case, it could double to 0.06 or 0.08, while in the best case, it could be worth 341, which would be a 10x if Elon Musk continues to integrate Dogecoin into his systems. Now that you know,
So, price forecast for 2025, how high can Polkadot go? The world of blockchains is really growing rapidly, but they all have one problem: they can't communicate with each other. Polkadot aims to solve this problem and really connect the entire Web3 ecosystem together. In this video, you'll learn how Polkadot plans to achieve this and why it's one of the most promising projects in this market. Stay tuned because you'll see how Polkadot is laying the foundation for a completely new connected world of blockchains. And then we'll get started right away. What is Polkadot actually? It's a layer 1 blockchain that relies on parachains, so basically it's about connecting multiple blockchains. So it's extremely relevant and was founded back in 2016. Now we're going to look at 20 metrics for Polkadot, analyze them thoroughly, and then make a price forecast. If you don't know the 20 metrics yet, I highly recommend this video where I explain them. Otherwise, I've listed them here again. And then we come to the first one, the market capitalization. Those are already high cap altcoins, of course. How much potential does Polkadot still have? They definitely have 7 out of 10. So what about the circulating supply? So it's basically 100% in circulation, which is very good, so that's also a 10 out of 10. So what about the roadmap? Yes, they want to further expand their parachains and ultimately improve the communication between networks and scale up in that area. Especially, of course, in the web. 3 areas, so extremely relevant, 9 out of 10. So what about the team? How strong is the team? It was developed by Gavin Wood, one of the co-founders of Ethereum, so it's extremely relevant. Otherwise, they also have a strong team with extreme expertise and they're technically very well positioned, so that's also a 9 out of 10. So, which narratives do they actually serve? The narrative that blockchains can communicate with each other, and that's why it's extremely relevant for the web space to ensure and make the communication between individual blockchains more efficient.
So that's 9 out of 10 in that area. What problem does Polkadot ultimately solve? The problem, as mentioned, is that blockchains can't always communicate with each other. So they developed parachains to solve this problem, and that's an extremely important and relevant topic, which is why they get a 10 out of 10. So what about the tokenomics? Yes, you can use .t for staking, governance, and in auctions. They're very well positioned on their chain, so that's an 8 out of 10. So what does it offer for investors there? Jaro Capital, for example, very relevant polychain capital. All these institutional, let's say, investors support Polkadot, so that's very relevant and important. 9 out of 10. So what about the capital? Well, Polkadot has handled the bear market really well, very stable. They have enough capital to keep developing, so that's a 9 out of 10. The marketing video shows that they're well positioned. They're really continuously developing to possibly attract developers to their platform, getting chains, and focusing on the ecosystem continuing to grow. So that's why it also gets an 8 out of 10. Stop. I found another altcoin this week that really surprised me. It has a very strong tokenomics, and the analysis was really exciting. So if you don't want to miss these, I upload an altcoin analysis every Saturday and Sunday, and ultimately, I want to find the next 100x gains. If you don't want to miss out, subscribe to the channel now, and definitely make sure to hit the bell so you don't miss any insights. And now let's get right into it. So how simple is the idea of Polkadot? It's basically simple. It wants to connect other blockchains together and for the web space, which is very relevant for the future and therefore also in this area. 9 out of 10. What long-term vision does Polkadot have? Because they want to be a leader in the Web3 space and ultimately connect the other chains to further strengthen the decentralized internet. And that's why they're doing extremely well. 9 out of 10. Is it deflationary? Does Polkadot ultimately have a maximum supply? In the end, it's inflationary. It doesn't have a maximum supply. When it comes to the tokenomics side, it's not optimal because, of course, quite a few tokens could still come onto the market. So that's only 6 out of 10. So what is the fully diluted market capitalization? And in the end, they're rated well. Right now, it's a fair valuation. 9 out of 10. And how does it look with the liquidity? Well, they are extremely liquid in the market, which is very good. 9 out of 10. So how was the token distribution and the lockup periods? In the end, it was a fair distribution looking back. So they did well there. 8 out of 10. So how does it look with the top coin holders? Are they then as low as possible? And since it was quite decentralized, they're well positioned there. It's not too widely distributed among individual holders, but rather, as I said, it's more broadly distributed. So that's 8 out of 10. So what does such a utility look like? As I just mentioned, staking on one hand, then for the parachain auction. And in the end, the further development of the ecosystem has a broad use case. So that's 9 out of 10. So how does the community look? Well, in the end, Polkadot has been on the market for a long time, has a strong community, and above all, they keep attracting new developers, which is really good. 9 out of 10. So, how does the current market situation actually look? They're very well positioned, they have good capital, they have a solid narrative, and they're really extremely important and relevant for the web space. So, the altcoin season is going to continue, so they're well positioned. 8 out of 10, and then let's get to the results. 92% extremely good. They are very important for the entire sector. They take on extremely important narratives. So they obviously have a strong use case, especially in real life. And in the end, connecting multiple blockchains is essential for the future. So they're extremely well positioned. There, they have an extremely strong team. And that's why I think Polkadot is one of the best projects on the market, which unfortunately is extremely undervalued. Yes, and now let's get straight to the price prediction. So anything from $25 to $50 to $75 is possible. I personally believe that Polkadot will have even higher growth. That's extremely positive. Now that you know the potential of Polkadot, I have analyzed Ethereum in detail based on my 20 metrics and ultimately made a price forecast using my 10x formula, which surprised me immensely. So, what is Ethereum actually? It is a layer 1 blockchain with proof of stake, also referred to as a world computer, because a vast number of dApps are built on it, and the Web3 ecosystem was already founded in 2014. So it is very established in the market and also has a high altcoin dominance. Now let's move on to my 10x formula.
I highly recommend this video above, where I present the 10x formula and 20 metrics in detail. It is very important that you understand this video here. And then we get started right away. Market capitalization 393 billion. That is of course already a high, I would say, market cap. As a result, its growth is relatively limited compared to altcoins, with low market production. Therefore, only 4 out of 10. Then the next point, the circulating supply. Well, 100% are ultimately already in circulation. That is positive, 10 out of 10. Then the next point, what about the roadmap? Well, Ethereum has a roadmap, especially regarding Ethereum 2.0 and further scalability, speed. So, of course, they also want to move more into the area of Solana, therefore 8 out of 10. Then the next point, what about the team? Well, ultimately founded by Vitalik Buterin, I think everyone or many of you know him. Otherwise, it has a strong developer community. It is also ultimately based in Switzerland. Very positive overall, 9 out of 10. Then the next point, what narratives does Ethereum have? Well, ultimately, yes, player 1, and especially smart context, DeFi, so, very positive overall. It is needed. 9 out of 10. Then the next point, what problem does Ethereum solve? Well, ultimately, that there is a decentralized platform for smart contracts and apps. Therefore, 10 out of 10, extremely important. Then the next, tokenomics. Well, with 2.0, that is Ethereum 2.0, staking was ultimately introduced and it has a deflationary mechanism, which is very positive because it counteracts inflation, so 9 out of 10. Then the next point, what about the investors? Well, many investors are investing in Ethereum and believe in it. Ethereum has its own ETF because it is the only altcoin that has one. Therefore, extremely positive, 8 out of 10. And the next point, what about the capital? Well, the Ethereum Foundation has a robust capital as a result, so 8 out of 10. Then marketing, well, on one hand, it is naturally growing because more and more developers are building on Ethereum. This naturally attracts more people and as a result, the ecosystem expands. 8 out of 10. Stop. I absolutely have to tell you something important. I found an altcoin that ultimately has an extremely low market cap, which is extremely important for us investors because it has extremely high potential. It also has solid tokenomics. I must say, it really surprised me. And I also hold the coin in my personal portfolio, so it's very relevant. I will have analyzed it in detail and will ultimately publish it next weekend with my complete analysis of the 20 metrics, my price forecast, and my 10x formula. If you don't want to miss it, feel free to subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to activate the bell so that you ultimately don't miss any insights in the future. So, let's go, it continues, and the next point is the idea simple. Well, the idea is indeed simple. Especially Ethereum is quite well known, for sure, especially in the area of simply strong contacts and decentralized in quotation marks world computer 8 out of 10. And the next point, what is the long-term vision? Well, it ultimately wants to be the decentralized world computer and continuously expand, allow more and more users and ultimately keep growing. Therefore, 9 out of 10. The next point, it is deflationary. Does it have a maximum supply? No, it does not have a maximum supply, but it is now deflationary. Therefore, that is very positive, 9 out of 10. And the next point, how does the fully diluted market capitalization look? Well, it is already close to the market cap, which is very positive, therefore 10 out of 10. The next point, how does the liquidity look? Well, the ratio is 0.056, which indicates high liquidity. You can sell your Ethereum because there is enough liquidity available. This is extremely important, shows extreme interest in Ethereum, 10 out of 10. The next point, how is the token distribution or lockup periods, or AE? Well, it is decentralized with staking and ultimately has, let's say, no major. Then the next point, how does the token distribution look? Well, it is decentralized, has staking, and ultimately I would say there is no risk of extremely many coins coming onto the market. Therefore, 9 out of 10. The next point, are the top coin holders as low as possible? Well, there is a moderate concentration of extreme holders, I would say. So therefore 7 out of 10. And the next point, what use case does Ethereum have? Well, of course DeFi, then NFTs, but also DAOs and staking, so an extremely important, I would say, foundation, has extreme utility for us as investors, 10 out of 10. Then the next point, how is the community? Well, it has one of the largest communities because it has been on the market for a long time, extremely positive, and therefore 10 out of 10. What about the current market situation? Well, Ethereum still dominates the layer 1 blockchain market, and therefore it has an ETF, which is very important. There will be inflows, and generally an altcoin season will come again. Therefore I am optimistic, 9 out of 10. And the result? 95.8. Extremely good result, solid tokenomics. The ETF, strong investors, the strong community, a high dominance in the market, been around for a long time. In my opinion, Ethereum is still in second place, and rightly so. And I also don't believe that will change in the future. Especially when the altcoin season starts, Ethereum will also soar again. Let's move on to the forecast. As always, either in the bearish case, then in the neutral case, or in the optimistic case. So in the bearish case, $16,620, or in the optimistic case, 33,240. That would be a 5 to 10x from now, so extreme potential.
Yes.
If you want to know what potential HBAR still has, then you are exactly right here. I analyze HBAR based on my 20 metrics, make a price forecast at the end, and provide a result in percent, so you know exactly if HBAR is right for you and if it has potential. And the price forecast really surprised me. Yes, and then we will start directly with the analysis of HBAR. What is HBAR actually to begin with? It is ultimately a competitor to XRP, and is also supposed to enable international transfers quickly, securely, and cost-effectively. It was founded back in 2018, and then we come to my 10x formula. Highly recommend the video above, where I present the 10x formula in detail. And now we dive directly into the analysis. First of all, the market capitalization is already a high cap altcoin, meaning the potential for growth of 50 to 100x is no longer present. But let's put it this way, it will still definitely have high growth potential. Then the next point, what about the circulating supply? It is already at 76%, which is a lot. This definitely indicates that the price pressure is not as strong anymore because simply not as many coins, so to speak, can come onto the market. From that perspective, 8 out of 10. And the next point, the roadmap. Yes, they are well positioned regarding the roadmap. They definitely have clear goals. The further scalability on one hand, but also ultimately to strengthen the network. Therefore, they are well positioned there. 7 out of 10. Then we come to the team. They definitely have a strong team from the tech industry, which is very good, and ultimately also from the business sector, meaning tech and business, which is extremely important, especially in the field of finance. Therefore, they are very well positioned with the team 8 out of 10. And the next point, which narrative, as already mentioned, is ultimately a competitor to XRP. The narrative is becoming increasingly relevant, so they are also well positioned for the digital future. 7 out of 10. And the next point, what problem does it ultimately solve? It ultimately solves the problem for international payments / transfers, which are cheap, fast, and ultimately decentralized, which is definitely a huge advantage. Therefore, 8 out of 10. And the next point, the tokenomics. Yes, the HBAR can ultimately be used for transaction fees, but also through staking to strengthen and secure the network. It has its use cases in tokenomics. Therefore, 7 out of 10. And the next point, the investors. It already has strong investors who ultimately support HBAR and believe in the project. Therefore, they are well positioned and solid. 7 out of 10. And the next point is capital. The HBAR Foundation has definitely supported the capital significantly, and through further adoption, they naturally attract more developers, which is positive. Therefore, 7 out of 10. And the next point, how does it look in terms of marketing? They already have some partnerships which are relevant and important, but the adoption is also progressing further through the community. Therefore, 6 out of 10. Stop. I found an altcoin this week during my analyses. It really surprised me ultimately from the AI section once again. I keep doing this, let's say. I specifically look for altcoins in the AI sector because it is an important narrative. This coin definitely surprised me for several reasons. I will upload the video again next weekend. The complete analysis based on my 20 metrics with my 10x formula. With price forecast, I can already say don't miss this old button at all, very relevant. So feel free to subscribe to my channel and don't forget to activate the bell to not miss any more insights. And now let's continue directly. Let's talk about the simplicity of the idea. How simple is it? Well, in the end, it's easy to understand the concept. Also, again, international transfer payments. Limitless, so to speak. Simple, fast, cost-effective, therefore 8 out of 10. And the next point, what does the long-term vision look like? They are based on the idea that a digital future, which is ultimately secure and naturally built on trust. Therefore, they have a long-term vision, also regarding international payments. That's good, 7 out of 10. And the next point, is it deflationary? Does it have a maximum supply? It has a maximum supply, which is definitely good. However, it does not have deflationary mechanisms, which is suboptimal, therefore 6 out of 10. And the next point, what does the fully diluted market capitalization look like? Is it below 10 times the market cap? And in the end, it is significantly below that. This indicates that it is in a good ratio, and therefore it also has 7 out of 10 points. And the next point, volume to market cap. In other words, how high is the liquidity? It is at 0.17, which indicates that it is liquid. Therefore 8 out of 10. And the next point, what about the token distribution? In the end, especially regarding lockup periods and so on, a large portion of the tokens are already in circulation, which is very good. This indicates that in the end, not many more can be thrown onto the market. For 7 out of 10. Now regarding the top coin holders, are there many? And I would say the risk is already there. There are already some who hold a lot of HBARs, for initially only 5 out of 10. Then the next point, what about the utility? Well, as already mentioned, transaction fees can be paid with HBAR, then of course also for staking and for the use of smart contracts. Therefore, it has 3 utilities. 8 out of 10. The community is active on Twitter, it is also active on Reddit and on Discord. They are well positioned with 10. And the next point, the current market situation, they are well positioned, and of course they are benefiting from the fact that XRP is making big news, so they already have a good narrative. 6 out of 10. Then we come to the result. How does it look? 86.8% is a solid result. Good tokenomics, strong team, a good roadmap. Ultimately, it is also a fairly easy to understand idea, and through XRP they currently have a good narrative. Therefore, a good result. And then we come to the price forecast. 0.05 to 250. Everything is possible. It definitely still has extreme growth potential.
In this video, I analyzed human AI 20 metrics from the AI narrative, which is extremely relevant, explaining why this altcoin really surprised me and why it has exactly the right narrative with a truly interesting use case. All of this in this video. So, what is human AI? It is also called HARD in effect as an abbreviation, coming from the artificial intelligence and blockchain narrative, which is extremely relevant right now for the upcoming bull run, I would say. In the end, it is such that it manages AI models, meaning you can create and also monetize them, which is very relevant. Essentially, a user can create these, and they can also be used for everyday purposes. What is also interesting is that it has a proof of human and is supposed to be ethically very correct, which is of course very relevant, especially for artificial intelligence. There are more and more regulations being established, I would say. It was founded in 2021, so it has been on the market for a bit longer, and yes, it is definitely an interesting project. Yes, here are my 20 metrics again with my 10x formula. I highly recommend the video above where I present these 20 metrics in detail, and then we will dive directly into the analysis. What is it about the market cap? Is it a low cap altcoin? What does that mean? In the end, it still has a very strong growth potential, which is very important and relevant. That's what we all want. Therefore, the next point is the circulating supply, the amount, which is already at 71%, which is very positive. This means that the price pressure is not as strong anymore. Therefore, 9 out of 10. The next point is, what does the roadmap look like?
So they want to merge artificial intelligence and blockchain together in a decentralized and ethically correct manner. So they definitely have a plan for the future, therefore 7 out of 10. Then the next point, the team. It's definitely a very experienced team of artificial intelligence and blockchain developers, really professional. And ultimately the leader of the altcoin comes from the machine learning field, so also very relevant. Strong team, 8 out of 10. Then the next point, how does the narrative look? As I mentioned, ultimately it combines the AI, that is artificial intelligence narrative, with blockchain, very relevant, therefore 8 out of 10. The next point, what problem does it solve? Well, first of all, a decentralized framework, so to speak, for artificial intelligence, especially ethical artificial intelligence. Ultimately, they have certainly hit a point that is very relevant in the current situation and world, especially in the industrial sector. Therefore, 8 out of 10. And the next point is the tokenomics. It has a balance, I would say tokenomics, which is very well executed, balanced, and addresses network and security, therefore 7 out of 10. Then the next point is the investors. There isn't actually that much information about it, which is of course a bit difficult. So at first glance, I always do research so that everyone can find the information immediately. Because ultimately, if we as investors engage with the project and we don't find the data and numbers and information at first glance, then we start to wonder if it's a fake or something like that. Therefore, I really pay attention to ensuring that it is easy to find and that one doesn't have to do too much research, and in that area they are still not very transparent. Then the next point, what does the capital look like? Yes, based on the roadmap, it is noticeable that they have certain capital. Even there, it is not completely transparent. Therefore, 6 out of 10. And then we come to marketing. So it is already active in marketing and social media platforms, but it is not yet as well known as perhaps other altcoins. Therefore, only 6 out of 10? Stop. I have to tell you something. I found and analyzed an altcoin this week that really caught my attention because it is very interesting. It is from the area of launch pools, which is also a very interesting area where new projects are ultimately started. That means you would be able to access the projects early on and invest, which is of course very relevant. It also has a very fair distribution. Therefore, I have him on my radar. I analyzed him and will upload the video about it next weekend. I analyzed him again with my 20 metrics and made a price prediction. If you don't want to miss this altcoin, and I really urge you not to miss it, then subscribe to my channel, activate the bell so you definitely don't miss this analysis in the future, and I look forward to you being there. Yes, how is the idea? It is simple, and in the end, the idea itself, I would say, is perhaps simple AI and blockchain, but the technical construction behind it, so to speak, the technical conditions are quite complex, therefore only 5 out of 10. Then the next point, what does the long-term vision look like? Well, as already mentioned, they want to link the AI area, AI agents so to speak, and the blockchain area together. Very relevant. They definitely have a long-term vision regarding implementation. We will have to see in the future, but 7 out of 10. Next point, how does it look? Is it deflationary? It has a maximum supply of 7.8 trillion. That's quite solid at first, but it doesn't have a deflationary mechanism, so it's 7 out of 10. The next point is, how does the fully diluted market capitalization look? It is 1. April times the market cap, so it is definitely a good rating, and 8 out of 10. The next point is volume through market cap. How liquid is it? It is definitely liquid. It is above my reference range, but only minimally, I would say, so it's not as liquid as perhaps other altcoins. Therefore 6 out of 10. The next point is token distribution. Again, the transparency is not immediately clear at first glance for us investors, so there is only 5 out of 10 for that. The next point is how the top coin holders look. Again, there are no clear data. Not immediately visible for any investor who is looking for it quickly, I would say, and this can lead to a risk of market manipulation. Therefore, in this area, only 4 out of 10. And the next point is the utility, so to speak. Well, we come to staking transactions, fees, and of course the artificial intelligence services, which are very well positioned and broad-ranging, 8 out of 10. And the next point is the community. Active on Discord, active on Twitter, and Telegram, so they are well positioned and receive updates from the team. They are active there, so 7 out of 10. Then the next point is, how does the current situation look? So, as I said, AI and blockchain are a topic that is clear. Therefore, they already have their advantages through the narrative of how the development is. At the moment, a lot is already set, a lot is being said, and the use case is definitely there, but in terms of implementation, they need to catch up. So 6 out of 10. So we come directly to the result, 76.1%, a solid outcome. Again, the tokenomics is, I would say, in the normal range, not outstanding in terms of technology and the use case. It is a very exciting project because ultimately, AI agents can really be used for various things in everyday life for companies, so to speak, and then still ethically correct, in quotation marks. This is definitely an interesting project. I find it very exciting and I will definitely continue to follow it. And then we come to the price forecast. Yes, my price forecast is always based on the fully diluted market capitalization. And if the entire crypto market ultimately reaches 5 to 10 trillion, then we have opportunities based on the market share that the altcoin has. Here it looks like it would be in dollars. Otherwise, and in the best case, it is 0.45. So there is definitely extreme growth potential. In this video, I analyze the internet computer, detailing my 20 key metrics using my exclusive 10x formula. And I can only say this much, the results surprised even me. Yes, and then we will dive directly into the analysis of the internet computer. This is a layer 1 blockchain, a decentralized platform also called the world computer, because it ultimately builds on everything and has its own ecosystem, and was effectively launched in 2021. And then we go directly to my 10x formula. To understand my 20 key metrics at all, I highly recommend this video up here, where I really present the 20 key metrics in detail. And then we go directly to the first point, the market cap. Weighted at 10%, it stands at 3.8 billion, which gives it moderate growth potential, rated 6 out of 10. And the next point, what is the circulating supply? Well, it is at 90%. This means that the risk of inflation is low. 9 out of 10 for the score. The next point, the roadmap. The focus is definitely on decentralization, smart contracts, and scalability. And in the end, they really have many goals and a large roadmap. This definitely speaks for the project. Score, 8 out of 10. Then the team. The team is ultimately led by the Definitive Foundation under the leadership of Dominic Williams. Strong cryptography and technology, so a strong team. Score, 8 out of 10. Then the next point, the narrative. This is definitely a strong narrative in the layer 1 sector. The goal is to replace the traditional infrastructure in the IT industry. Score, 7 out of 10. Then the next point, what problem does the internet computer solve? Well, it ultimately solves the problem of decentralized web infrastructure and makes the internet ultimately more open and secure. Therefore, 9 out of 10. The next point, what is the tokenomics like? Well, the tokenomics is aimed at stability and value appreciation, and the internet computer ultimately uses the computing power and storage in the network, which naturally creates demand for the project. Therefore, 8 out of 10. Then the next point, what about the investors? Well, it has renowned investors, including PulseChain Capital, and is very well positioned there, score 9 out of 10. Then the next point, how is the capital? Well, they are well capitalized. They definitely have, let's say, a lot of money available for the roadmap for further development, so 8 out of 10. And the next point, how is the marketing? Well, it is such that there is definitely a high marketing presence with moderate visibility. The awareness is growing, but many influencers are also increasingly jumping on the bandwagon. Therefore, 6 out of 10. Stop. Before I continue here, I absolutely have to tell you something. I found an altcoin that really has mega potential and is not just a hype, but is fundamentally very good. The coin belongs to the RWA sector, which is an important narrative. And it has a low market cap, so it could be very exciting for us investors. A complete analysis of this coin will be available next weekend, and so that you have this knowledge advantage in the future. If you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. And remember to activate the bell so you receive every video, keeping you informed and ultimately ensuring you miss no insights. Now let's continue directly. So how simple is the idea behind it? Well, the concept itself, the technology behind it is certainly complex, but it is a very relevant topic for the internet, for the decentralized internet, so that's 5 out of 10. And then the next point, what is the long-term vision? Well, of course, it's about Web3 and ultimately the transformation of web infrastructure, and therefore it definitely has an idea and a goal as a world computer, so that's 8 out of 10. And then the next point, is it deflationary to the maximum supply? Well, there is no fixed upper limit, but there is a mechanism for inflation control, so that's 6 out of 10. And the next point, what about the fully diluted market capitalization? Well, it is a realistic ratio to the market capitalization, so that's 7 out of 10. And the next point, how is the volume relative to market cap? Well, it is definitely traded a lot, has a high trading volume indicating high interest and high liquidity, so that's 8 out of 10. Then the next point, how is the token distribution? Well, there is definitely a high circulating supply and an adequate protection mechanism against large sell-offs. That's definitely a good thing. So that's 7 out of 10. And the next point, how many top coin holders are there? Well, there is only a moderate concentration and acceptable risk. Therefore 6 out of 10. Then the next point, what utility does the token have? Well, use cases are of course usage in the network for interactions, but staking is also possible, for example, right? And of course the voting rights as well. Therefore it has several good use cases. Therefore 9 out of 10. And then the next one, how is the community? Well, the community is continuing to grow. It is very active. And I would say it is getting stronger all the time. Therefore 7 out of 10. And the next point, the current market situation and how Internet Computer is reacting to it. Well, Internet Computer is already adaptable. And, of course, since there is no altcoin season yet, it is also influenced a bit by that. Therefore, for now, only 6 out of 10. Yes, then we come to the result. 85.8. That is an extremely good result, simply because it has solid tokenomics and is ultimately very well positioned overall. It is very promising, as mentioned, with solid fundamentals, good partners that really offer a good narrative, with good support and yet not too complex. And the growth potential is definitely there. Therefore, here is the listing again very transparently. And then we come to the forecast. As you can see here, from 105 to 210, that would be 13 to 27x. Also above what ultimately exists, in which situation, rather in bear possibilities or in bull possibilities, what options are available up there.
Now, top AI altcoin that can increase your investment 100-fold. In this bull run today, I'm taking a close look at Neurai with my exclusive 10x formula. By the end of the video, you'll know if Neurai really offers a 100x opportunity, or if you should better stay away from it. Stay tuned, I'm always analyzing the most important factors. Market capitalization, how strong is the team, how good is the tokenomics. I'll show you why Neurai is really exciting right now. So what makes Neurai so special? It effectively combines IoT, that is the Internet of Things, with artificial intelligence, making it extremely relevant. It has invented an important proprietary algorithm and was founded in 2023. In the end, it also has a real-life use case, which is very relevant. Yes, let's dive right into the analysis. And here are my 20 metrics that are extremely important to understand. I'll link my video up above. And spoiler alert, some of the metrics might really surprise you. Let's jump right into the analysis. Market capitalization is my good starting point. It's currently at just 16 million, so a low cap altcoin with extreme potential, but of course also high risk. And how much potential is really still in this altcoin, we'll get to that later. Here, definitely 7 out of 10. And how does the circulating supply look? 66% are already in circulation, which is extremely positive. This means that the inflationary pressure won't be as strong in the long run. 8 out of 10. And then we come to the roadmap. Another important factor is the integration of IoT devices, that is the Internet of Things, with blockchain technology and AI. They really want to expand the system. And in the area of dApps and IoT applications, the The focus is really on further expandability, and it also has a strong roadmap. So 7 out of 10. Then one of the most important factors is how strong the team is and where the team comes from. 3 electrical specialists basically founded the project. Extensive experience in IoT projects, so very relevant, therefore also 8 out of 10. Now let's move on to the next point. The narrative for this, of course, serves 3 important narratives: blockchain, artificial intelligence, and the Internet of Things. These 3 are interconnected, which is ultimately an extremely relevant narrative. 8 out of 10. And then we come to the next point. So what problem does it ultimately solve? It solves the problem of a missing platform that currently doesn't exist for IoT, in connection with blockchain, and artificial intelligence to ultimately store and secure data safely. And that's why it's also 8 out of 10. Because it addresses various important narratives in the bull run. And then we come to the next point, the tokenomics. It has a maximum supply, which is extremely good, and it has a resistant algorithm, so 7 out of 10. Then let's move straight on to the next point. What about the investors? They don't have any extremely large institutional investors, so just 4 out of 10. And then how does it look in terms of capital? It's more community-based capital there as well, but it doesn't have any big investors. 5 out of 10. Then the next point is marketing. They're active on social media, which is always good, for example, on X, and also provide regular updates. 7 out of 10. Stop. If you really appreciate in-depth analyses, then subscribe to my channel now and activate the bell so you don't miss any insights in the future. I upload an altcoin analysis every Saturday and Sunday, and on X, so on Twitter, I really post my progress daily that I make in the analyses. I also show very transparently what altcoins I find and have found, giving you information about market capitalization, opportunities, risks, and a little daily overview of the current projects that I'm keeping an eye on. So feel free to follow me on X so you can really stay up to date during the week. And as I said, on the weekends, I always upload the complete analysis on YouTube, so you basically have the knowledge from both sides. And now let's continue right away. Yeah, how simple is the idea? In the end, the idea is, let's say, quite hard to understand because it serves different narratives that are at least complex from a technical standpoint. Artificial intelligence, blockchain, and ultimately also the Internet of Things. So just 5 out of 10. Let's move on to the next one. What is the long-term vision? They ultimately want to become the leader in the IoT and blockchain space. So they have a clear vision, which is very important. So what about the maximum supply? In the end, it has a burning mechanism. The maximum supply is 21 billion tokens, but it doesn't have any deflationary mechanisms. However, it's positively positioned with relatively few tokens, so that's a 6 out of 10. And then the next point, how does the fully diluted market capitalization look? It's roughly equal to the market capitalization, which is very positive, 7 out of 10. So, how does the liquidity look? 0.038 is the value, which is very positive. That means it's already relatively liquid for this low market capitalization. 8 out of 10. So, how is the token distribution and, in the end, the lockup period? There really isn't much information, which isn't optimal in terms of transparency. That's why it only gets 4 out of 10. And then we come to the next point, the top coin holders. It's the same there. There aren't any specific data, but it's also very community-based in the end. So that's a 5 out of 10 in that area. And then to the next point, what utility does it have? First, there's staking, but of course it's also for IoT applications to have access to the networks. So it definitely has a real-life use case which is very relevant. 8 out of 10. And then the second to last point, the community. They're well represented on exchanges, like on Twitter and also on Telegram. They're solidly positioned, although the growth could definitely be a bit more in the future. And then, how is the current market situation? Positive market trends in the areas of AI, blockchain, and of course IoT could definitely benefit the new series, but how does it develop compared to other altcoins? They still have to prove that. So now we come to the conclusion. Let's summarize briefly. So the market stabilization is relatively low, which suggests that high growth is still possible in the end. So, the circulating supply is already relatively high. It addresses 2, even 3 important narratives. When it comes to investors and capital, they're not as well positioned, but hopefully that will improve. It addresses 2, even 3 important narratives, solves a significant problem extremely well, and has solid tokenomics. In terms of investors and capital, they are not so well positioned, but hopefully this will continue to increase in the future. In the marketing and social media areas, they are solidly positioned with potential for improvement. It has a maximum supply that's quite low, which is good for market stabilization, but the token distribution among the top coin holders is rather opaque, which is suboptimal. However, the utility of the token is huge. It's extremely strong, especially in real liberty. The current situation is positive, especially because of the altcoin season. So all in all, it's a strong project that every investor should keep an eye on. Personally, I have it on my radar. Now we come to the most important part, the price prediction. As always, when the crypto market develops positively, I have 3 AI-based predictions. 0.035 is the base case, which is already very positive, but if Neurai were to gain even more market share and the crypto market grows even stronger, that could mean a price of 0.25. If everything skyrockets, the entire crypto market and market share would significantly rise, leading to a price of 0.621, which would be massive. It's important to remember that these are all just potential scenarios that could happen but don't have to. I always encourage you to make your own decisions and do your own research. These are just possibilities. It could turn out completely differently.
I have really analyzed Solana in detail based on my 20 metrics and made a price prediction using my 10x formula. The entire analysis really surprised me immensely. What potential Solana still has in this bull run. What is Solana actually? Well, it is a layer 1 blockchain based on proof of stake, and it ultimately has its own proof of history, which is extremely special. It is fast, it is inexpensive, and it is highly scalable. It was founded in 2017. To help you understand my analyses, I recommend this video above, where I research my 20 metrics in detail. And let's get started right away. Market capitalization $100 billion US. The growth potential is still moderate. That is positive 5 out of 10. And the next point, what about the circulating supply? It is over 30%, and yes, it is at 85%. That is very positive. This means ultimately there is no inflation. Great risks that too much Solana will still come onto the market and flood the market. 10 out of 10. And the next point, what does the roadmap look like? Solana has a clear roadmap. The focus is ultimately on scalability and further decentralization. Therefore, 8 out of 10. And the next point, what about the team? Ultimately, it has an experienced team behind it, which is very positive. 8 out of 10. And the next point, what about the narrative? Well, a fast, ultimately scalable and decentralized blockchain in the layer 1 space. Very positive, important narratives. 8 out of 10. And the next point, what problem does Solana actually solve? Well, ultimately it addresses the trilemma, which means it is ultimately fast, cost-effective, and secure at the same time. Therefore, Solana solves this somewhat, or rather does not want to solve it. 9 out of 10. And the next point, how does the tokenomics look? Well, it has an inflationary model with an inflation rate of 8.55%. That is positive. 7 out of 10. And the next point, how do the investors look? Well, Solana is shaped and supported by high-profile investors, I would say, and in the end, it has positive funding. Therefore, 9 out of 10. The next point, what about the capital? As already mentioned, many ultimately support Solana. There is even talk that Solana will get an ETF next year, so everything is very positive. 8 out of 10. And the next point, what about marketing? Well, it already has a very active marketing strategy, which is very positive but also quite aggressive, but also, I would say, good partners. Therefore, 8 out of 10. Stop. I absolutely have to tell you something. I found an old coin that has really extremely good fundamental data, but also, I would say it also has good growth. It has already surprised me, I really have to say. Not many people are currently aware of it. It has an important narrative. I will upload it next weekend, analyze it with my 20 metrics, and provide a price prediction using my 10x formula. If you don't want to miss that, feel free to subscribe to my channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any more insights. Now let's continue directly. Then the next question, how is the idea? Is it simple? In the end, Solana is simple, fast, cost-effective, efficient, rated 9 out of 10. And the next point, what about the long-term vision? Well, they ultimately want to be the leading decentralized platform for apps, for Web3, fast, simple, secure, rated 8 out of 10. The next point, is it deflationary with a maximum supply? And no, it has no maximum supply, but it has an inflationary model which is good, definitely 5 out of 10. Then the next point, what about the fully diluted market capitalization? Well, it is ultimately similar to the market capitalization rated 8 out of 10, which is good. And then the next point, what about the liquidity? Ratio of 0.13, extremely good, extremely liquid, very positive, rated 10 out of 10. And the next point, what about the token distribution and the lockup periods? Well, the token distribution was already transparent. There were also lockup periods for initial investors. That was positive, all solid. 7 out of 10. The next point, the top coin holders should be as low as possible. There is a moderate concentration now, still within limits, 6 out of 10. And the next point, what advantages, what use cases does Solana ultimately have? Well, on one hand, transaction fees, but also staking, governance. So several use cases, also NFTs, meme coin 9 out of 10. And the next point, how is the community? Well, the Solana community is very positive, is very large, and is continuously growing. Therefore, an extremely good community rated 8 out of 10. And the current situation, well, on one hand, there is currently no altcoin season, but that will come. But Solana could see the ETF come in 2025. That could be very positive. Solana is growing, Solana is getting better. Therefore, the downtime is being reduced. Very positive development, rated 8 out of 10. And then we come to the result, 89.6, extremely good result. The tokenomics solid range. The potential of Solana from marketing and the community is positive. The current situation is good, and they have very strong supporters. From the financial sectors and investors, all positive. And here is the price forecast, as always. If it doesn't go well, 1,000. If it goes normally, 2,500. If it goes extremely well, that would be 5 to 12 times from now. So extreme potential, which has surprised me, I must say. In this video, I analyze SUI based on my 20 metrics using my exclusive 10x formula and why SUI truly surprised me throughout the entire analysis. All of that in this video. So let's get started right away. What is SUI actually? A layer 1 blockchain with proof of stake. Fast, secure, cost-effective, and Web3 compliant. Therefore very good, and was founded in 2022. And then back to my 10x formula. I recommend this video to you where I present my 20 metrics in detail, and it starts directly with the market capitalization, which is at 9.59 billion, thus allowing for moderate growth, so 5 out of 10. Then the next point, what about the circulating supply? Well, it is at 28.5%, which I would say is quite low, meaning that in the end, many coins will still come onto the market, which of course means that it is ultimately inflationary, which is not so good. Therefore, only 4 out of 10. Then the next point, how does the roadmap look? Well, it has a clear roadmap that ultimately focuses on scalability, efficiency, and a robust dApp line application, meaning support for dApps and further network optimization. Therefore, 7 out of 10. Then the next point, how does the team look? Well, it actually has former developers from Meta, which is very good, and experts in the cryptocurrency and blockchain field, so 8 out of 10. Then the next point, what narratives does SUI have? Well, the Layer 1 narrative is ultimately a strong and innovative transaction model with high speed, low costs, and ultimately the DeFi sector is also in focus, so 7 out of 10. And then the next point, what problem does SUI ultimately solve? Well, it ultimately solves scalability and cost issues, I would say. The other blockchain networks primarily have issues regarding the apps and the files. And then the next point, how does the tokenomics look? Well, ultimately, it has a fixed total supply. This naturally supports value stability, while SUI also aims for even and sustainable emissions, I would say. Definitely positive and already 6 out of 10. Then the next point, what about the investors? Well, Binance Labs has invested Coinbase, and in the end, it has quite large investors, which strengthens credibility, 9 out of 10. And then the next point, what about the capital? Well, it is well funded, it has a strong backer, and has sufficient resources for further development, so 9 out of 10. And then the next point, what about marketing in the end? Well, it already has a marketing presence on social media, then strategic partnerships, and of course presence on major crypto exchanges. So 6 out of 10, stop. I absolutely have to tell you something. I have found an altcoin with mega potential that also has a solid tokenomics, and ultimately is very well positioned for the upcoming bull run in 2025. I have really analyzed it in detail using my 20 metrics with my 10x formula. The complete analysis will ultimately be released next weekend, and if you don't want to miss any insights, subscribe to my channel. Definitely also use the bell so you don't miss anything, and then it continues right away. So how does it look? How easy is it for those who understand in the end field? Well, it is easy to understand in the sense that it is a layer 1 blockchain that is fast and cost effective, hence 8 out of 10. Then the next point, how does the long-term vision of Zui look? Well, it definitely wants to be a leader in the layer 1 narrative for the apps, and especially in Web3, 8 out of 10. And then the next point, this deflationary has a maximum supply, and it is ultimately limited to 10 billion SUI, but it is not a deflationary model. That is suboptimal, 6 out of 10. And then the next point, how does the fully diluted market capitalization look? Well, in the end, it is 3.5 times the current market capitalization. That is definitely very good and solid, hence 7 out of 10. Then the next point, how does it look with liquidity? Well, in the end, it has extremely high liquidity, and that shows Zui has good market interest, 9 out of 10. And then the next point, how is the token distribution? Well, the distribution is well structured with vesting, so lockup periods, which I would say avoids abrupt sales, so 7 out of 10. And the next point, are the top coin holders kept as low as possible? Well, it is such that it does strive to minimize densification and manipulation, but it does not fully succeed, so only 6 out of 10. And then the next point, what utility does SUI have? Well, on one hand, it can certainly be used for transaction purposes, such as transaction fees, for staking, and then of course for the apps, so it has a wide utility, hence 8 out of 10. And the next point, how does the community look? Well, the community is already active, I would say, on social media like X or Discord, but not as extremely, I would say, as with others, like for example Solana, so for now only 6 out of 10. Yes, and then we come directly to the current situation. Well, in the layer 1 sector, where it is located in the network, there is, I would say, a lot of competition. I would say, therefore, it is a bit difficult to assess. So, for now, just 7 out of 10. And then the next point, the result of 78% is also solid, has a solid tokenomics but is not perfect. It is not deflot seller, which is still a bit suboptimal. And also, there is a very large number of layer 1 blockchains, so for now, 78%. And then we come directly to the forecast. Well, ultimately, what is the worst case scenario? What might be the normal case? And what could the best case be? 17 to 70? So the range is enormous, 5 to 20x, but still a solid potential.
How much TRON do you need to become a millionaire? A lot of people talk about 10x gains, but no one shows the hard analysis behind it. Today I'm taking a close look at TRON using my 10x formula. And by the end of the video, you really want to know if TRON has a 10x chance or if it's better for you to just leave this altcoin alone. So stay tuned. I analyze the most important factors such as the market capitalization about the team and also the tokenomics, and show you why TRON is very exciting right now. And the best part is, I've made an incredible discovery that you shouldn't miss. So what makes TRON so special? So it allows developers to create and run apps. And in the end, it has a strong focus on scalability, fast transaction speeds, and ultimately low costs. Then, the decentralization of digital content aims to ensure that, in the end, content creators can benefit directly from their creations without any middlemen in between. This way, content creators can fully benefit from it. It was founded in 2017, so it's been in the market for quite a while. Let's dive right into the analysis and take a detailed look at my 20 metrics. Spoiler alert, some of these might really surprise you. Market capitalization is always a good starting point. With currently 27 billion, TRON is already among the top, and it's a high cap altcoin. But how much potential is there? We'll get to that later. Definitely here, 4 out of 10. Now let's talk about the circulating supply. It's currently at 86 billion, and since it had an unlimited supply,
It's only 5 out of 10. And then we come to the next point, the roadmap. The roadmap shows us the future plans and gives us a glimpse into the future of TRON. And they want to further integrate stablecoins on one hand and also incorporate meme culture, so to speak, into the narrative. But be careful, a roadmap is only as good as its implementation. TRON gets 8 out of 10 here. And then we come to the next point, the team. TRON's founder, Justin Sun, is famous, maybe even infamous. But how strong is the team behind it? A strong team, especially in blockchain technology, is essential to really succeed in the crypto space. TRON has a solid development team here, so that's 8 out of 10. And then the narrative. What narrative does TRON ultimately serve? The narrative behind TRON is clear. It wants to be a fast and cost-effective blockchain. But how does TRON differ from Ethereum or other Layer 1 blockchains? And that's the huge advantage. They really want to support content creators and truly represent decentralization without them being dependent on any middleman. So that's 7 out of 10. Now let's move on to the next point. So what problem does it ultimately solve? The platform offers fast transactions, minimal fees, making it ideal for DeFi, NFTs, and other applications. But is that enough to stand out from the competition? That's the big question. But through the narrative that middlemen are ultimately cut out in content creation, it's obviously a huge advantage. So that's 8 out of 10. And then we come to the next point, the tokenomics. The tokenomics are crucial. TRON has burning mechanisms which help stabilize the price and the token in the long run. That's positive. It can ultimately be used for staking and of course for voting. So that's 7 out of 10. Now let's move on to the next point, the investors. It's not entirely clear if there are big investors because there's just not much information about it, but there are some investors. That definitely signals financial stability, but the big names like, for example, at Ethereum, they're missing. So that's 4 out of 10. And then the next point is capital. How well is TRON financially positioned? The capital base ultimately shows whether a project can withstand a bear market well. TRON has proven to be very robust in the bear market. So that's 8 out of 10. And then we come to marketing. TRON is known for its aggressive marketing, partly thanks to the founder. Whether on Twitter or at blockchain events, it brings in long-term investors or just short-term speculators, but it's more focused on long-term sustainability. So 7 out of 10. Stop. If you appreciate such in-depth analyses, then subscribe to my channel now and definitely turn on the bell so you don't miss any future analyses on altcoins. I find and analyze altcoin games every Saturday and Sunday. I invite you to join. Then upload an analysis so you won't miss any insights in the future. And now we continue right away. How simple is the idea of TRON? A project that is easy to understand naturally gains the trust of investors more quickly. TRON really scores here with clear use cases and an intuitive use of the blockchain. So that's 8 out of 10. So how long-term is it thinking in the end? The roadmap shows a clear vision of whether the team can implement it. That's another question, so that's 7 out of 10. TRON is deflationary with mechanisms like token burns, but it faces a maximum supply issue. But it does have deflationary mechanisms, which is good, through various regular token burns, where tokens are basically shot into nothing and no longer exist. But the problem is simply that it has a maximum supply. That's suboptimal, so that's 3 out of 10. And then the fully diluted market capitalization, market value at full distribution. Here it logically aligns quite well with the market cap. That's positive. 8 out of 10. And then how high is the liquidity? Extremely important. A high trading volume in relation to the market capitalization indicates strong liquidity, which is important so you can actually sell your coins. It's already extremely well positioned here. 9 out of 10. And how does the token distribution look? The founders have 45% in the end and 55% are investors. You can already see that it's pretty widely distributed. So that's 5 out of 10. And then the next point is the top coin holders. There are already quite a few top coin holders, a high number, which is suboptimal because it's always better when individual top coin holders have less power. So that's 4 out of 10. The next point is the utility of TRON. It's diverse. On one hand, it has gas fees, then there's staking, and also when you participate in voting, that really makes TRON attractive for long-term investors. So that's 8 out of 10. And then we come to the community. TRON is very well positioned here. On one hand, as I said, they do aggressive marketing, and a strong community is of course the heart of any project. TRON has an active base that really participates in the project, and they also communicate a lot on social media to support it. So that's 7 out of 10. And how does the current market situation look? TRON has already proven to be very stable in the bear market, and now it also has a strong roadmap for 2025. Recently, the coin has also gained a lot of value, and the adoption will continue to increase because they want to include stablecoins in their program, which is very positive. 7 out of 10. So we come to the result. 26.5%, a very solid outcome. The result has been a bit dampened, simply because the tokenomics isn't perfect, as it doesn't ultimately have a maximum supply. Then we come to the all-important question and the answer to my question from the intro. If TRON has moderate growth and a moderate share of the overall market, it can reach 0.66. But if things go significantly better and they really have a higher market share, then they could reach 1.33. And if the entire crypto market grows massively, they could even reach 3.33. What would that mean for you? When would you be a millionaire? How much TRON would you need? You would need that to ultimately become a crypto millionaire. All of this, of course, on the condition that TRON and the entire crypto market really grow massively. By the way, I'll link you to a crypto exchange below that I recommend where I bought TRON. VeChain price forecast for 2025. The future of the supply chain revolution. Did you know that supply chains lose millions globally every year due to inefficiency and fraud? VeChain aims to change that and ultimately revolutionize industries like healthcare and logistics with blockchain technology. In this video, I'll explain how VeChain works, what real-world use cases it has, and why it could be a very practical cryptocurrency for your portfolio. Stay tuned, and by the end you'll understand why VeChain is not just a project but a real solution to problems in the world. So what exactly is VeChain? It's essentially a supply chain management solution in the IoT space, meaning in logistics, but also in healthcare and the automotive industry. It basically improves the efficiency of logistics using blockchain technology. It was founded back in 2017. Reasons: it has extremely good approaches, but there are still a few drawbacks. I'll get to that later. First of all, here are my 20 key figures again. So I'm basically analyzing VeChain. Feel free to take a look at the 20 key figures. Otherwise, I'll link a video up here where I explain them to you in detail. There's even a metric that I found extremely interesting for VeChain, but we'll get to that later. Alright, let's get started. First, the market capitalization. It's basically already a high cap. The altcoin still has its potential though, and how much potential we'll get to that later. Definitely in this area, 7 out of 10. Yes, then the circulating supply. It's already at 93. That's extremely positive. That means that not too many tokens can flood the market and create price pressure. 9 out of 10. So how does the roadmap look? They are focusing on further adoption for basically IoT, that is the Internet of Things, and real-world assets. So they are continuing to build on that and above all want to solve everyday problems. Which metric do you actually find more important? Is it the roadmap or the team? Feel free to write it in the comments. Next up is the team. It was ultimately founded by really strong developers, a very experienced team from the tech industry but also from the blockchain industry. They are really strong in that regard and have many connections within the space, which is definitely always an advantage. 9 out of 10. So how does the narrative look? They are basically focusing on the narrative of IoT and of course the supply chain revolution. They really want to solve real problems. So that's definitely a very important narrative that will become increasingly significant in the future, especially as cryptocurrencies are integrated more into everyday life. 9 out of 10. What problem are they solving? Because ultimately, as mentioned, there are inefficiencies within supply chains, and that's a huge problem. They want to solve that with blockchain technology, as it naturally provides increased security, enhanced efficiency, and of course traceability, which is extremely important. So they are very well positioned. 9 out of 10. So how is the tokenomics? Ultimately, you can use it for staking and for payments within the system. In the ecosystem, everything is definitely looking very positive. as it definitely has a utility and the tokenomics are strong. 8 out of 10. So how do the investors look? They are supported by many large partnerships that also provide funding, and they have strong institutional support. 9 out of 10. How does the capital look? They are very robust, have weathered the bear market very well, and have many partnerships that believe in the project, especially in the long term. That definitely speaks for the token and ultimately for VeChain. So that's why it's 9 out of 10. So how does the marketing look? In the end, they focus on further partnerships because they really want to solve problems in real life, so they also have connections and base their marketing on real adoption. 8 out of 10. Stop. If you appreciate such in-depth analyses, then feel free to give a like first. That supports my channel and is good for the algorithm. I upload an altcoin analysis every Saturday and Sunday. Primarily, I'm looking for 100x altcoins that can really help me financially, but I also analyze big players in the market. To give you an insight, subscribe to my channel now. Don't forget to activate the bell so you don't miss any insights. And now let's continue right away. Yes, how simple is the idea? And in the end, it's relatively simple. The technical perspective, especially regarding supply chains, is of course a bit more complex, but the fact that they ultimately want to improve efficiency in real life in certain areas and therefore want to utilize blockchain technology to make the data more transparent is, I would say, already simpler. Understandable. 9 out of 10. So what does the long-term vision look like? The long-term vision is really that they want to be the leader in the blockchain space and truly want to help companies adopt and support them in order to ultimately solve real problems in that area. 9 out of 10. It's deflationary with a maximum supply in the end. It has a maximum supply which is extremely good. As mentioned right at the beginning, 93% already in circulation, which is extremely good. 8 out of 10. So, what about the fully diluted market capitalization? It's very close to the market cap, which indicates a fair valuation in the end. That's very good. 9 out of 10. So, what about the volume compared to the market cap? So that means this is again important for liquidity. And here they have really high trading volume, almost 200 million, which is extremely positive. 9 out of 10. What does the token distribution look like? At the beginning, it was quite fair, of course, to ensure some growth, but they are well positioned there. It's not unfairly distributed. 8 out of 10. So what about the top coin holders? There is a moderate number of top coin holders. Some are already there who hold a lot of VeChain, but there aren't that many. 7 out of 10. So what benefit does VeChain ultimately have for the ecosystem, for transaction fees, for staking, and of course to have the entire logistics and, let's say, the utility of the whole technology? So it has a wide range of benefits and everything is actually built on that. 9 out of 10. So how does the community look? They are well positioned there. They ultimately have a good community. They're active on Twitter. They have, let's say, a clear website. And of course, they've already secured many partnerships. Oh, 9 out of 10. Now let's talk about the current market situation. They are in a strong position, and ultimately, the adoption of cryptocurrencies in everyday life will continue to increase more intensively. We've already achieved good adoption there, and that will be further increased in the future. So, the altcoin season is coming up, and that will also boost the price. So we ultimately arrive at a result of 90.8, an extremely good result, which I honestly didn't expect. But of course this is because the market capitalization is already in a relatively high range. The circulating supply is at 93. They have a strong roadmap and team, solving real-world problems with solid tokenomics and effective marketing. Their long-term vision and strong volume provide good utility, making the token valuable. The current market situation offers advantages, and this altcoin is poised to advance. Now let's discuss the price forecast. They really have a long-term vision. The volume is extremely strong. They have good utility, so in the end, the token is extremely good. And the current market situation really has its advantages, and in my opinion, this altcoin will really move forward. And now we come to the price forecast. So, $0.20 to $0.60 is an extreme growth potential depending on how the overall market develops. Of course, it varies and no one can predict it, but those are possibilities that could happen if the entire crypto market reaches a certain point, and in the end VeChain gains a certain market share. Yes, and where you can find it, I'll link it down below on my preferred exchange at Max. Now that you know the Verasity price forecast 2025. Why this analysis really shocked me. Did you know that billions are ultimately lost every year due to fraud in the advertising industry? Verasity has developed the technology to put an end to that once and for all. Stay tuned and I'll explain why Verasity will ultimately bring the advertising industry into a completely new era. So what exactly is Verasity? Basically, it's an advertising platform where you can run ads, and it creates an ecosystem for esports and video, and it was founded back in 2019. What makes Verasity special is all contained in this analysis, and at the end, as always, a price forecast. I'm analyzing Verasity based on my 20 metrics. What the 20 metrics are will be explained here. Otherwise, I'll link a video above where I explain them in detail for you. So let's get straight to the analysis. What about the market capitalization? This is a low cap altcoin X with extreme potential, but of course it also comes with increased risk. 8 out of 10. So what about the circulating supply? Only 10% are actually in circulation, which is extremely low. That's suboptimal. This could lead to increased price pressure in the future. In a bull market, it probably won't have such extreme relevance. Still, it's important to know. 4 out of 10. What does the roadmap look like? Ultimately, they focus on authenticating NFTs, among other things, and integrating their proof of view technology as an esports video platform. So, they have a strong roadmap. 8 out of 10. So what about the team? They are well positioned in that regard, both in terms of blockchain technology and esports, which is also extremely relevant, and of course, advertising. So all three are really strong. They have a strong team that is well positioned. 7 out of 10. What narratives are they addressing? They want to eliminate the middleman so that advertising can be placed directly, and 8 out of 10 in that area. What problem are they solving? Right now, there's too little transparency in digital currency and fraud keeps happening. They want to counteract that, because blockchain technology significantly increases security and eliminates the need for a middleman. So 9 out of 10. What about the tokenomics? So VR is used for staking, for example, but of course it can also be utilized within the ecosystem. So extremely good. 7 out of 10. Do they have investors? That's right. They don't have any major investors yet, like those seen in Series A or larger Layer 1 blockchains. They're more driven by the retail community. 6 out of 10. Then, capital. What about the capital? They have moderate capital, through partnerships and of course through staking. 6 out of 10. So, how are you doing with marketing? They are very active on social media, and they have a strong community, and are active in the esports sector. So extremely relevant. 8 out of 10. Stop. If you appreciate in-depth analyses, then subscribe to my channel now. Don't forget to activate the bell so you don't miss any insights. I upload an altcoin analysis every Saturday and Sunday, so make sure you don't miss it. And now let's continue right away. So how simple is the idea? It's actually easy to understand. One uses blockchain technology to ultimately allocate advertising without intermediaries, which is of course safer and more transparent. 8 of 10. They want to build a digital ecosystem in the field of video, advertising and NFTs. 8 out of 10. It has a maximum supply, but in the end, they have no burning mechanisms. So from that perspective, just 6 out of 10. So how does it look in terms of fully diluted market capitalization? Let's just say they're not 1-to-1, which means they might be somewhat overvalued because many coins can still come onto the market. So that's 5 out of 10. So how is the volume compared to market cap? How liquid are they? And they are very liquid for the low market capitalization. So that's 9 out of 10. What is the token distribution? So many tokens have already been issued, but without significant lockup periods, which makes it difficult in terms of fairness. If a lot has gone to the sponsors or the team, it could create price pressure later on. So that's just 5 out of 10. So how does it look with the top coin holders? And it's also difficult there because a few wallets hold quite a lot. So that's only 6 out of 10. So what benefit does it have? Well, for staking, as already mentioned, it's proof of view, meaning a user watches a video and checks if it's the right one, and that's of course verified in the background using blockchain technology. This then results in rewards for users. So it's extremely interesting. This then results in rewards for users. So it's extremely interesting. So that's 8 out of 10. So how does the community look? It's already large, it's continuing to grow, and they are very strong in that area, especially since they are active in the esports sector and ultimately in the gaming sector. So from that perspective, this area, which will also grow extremely, gets 8 out of 10. So the current market situation is that they are well positioned in their area, meaning they are involved in the gaming sector, the NFT sector, and the tech sector. That's obviously extremely relevant for the future. So altcoins are going to take off during the altcoin season anyway. So that's 7 out of 10. Then we come to the result, 80 out of 100. That's a solid result. It has a use case that is really extremely important and interesting. You don't find that with many altcoins, hence, especially with proof of view, which of course offers an interesting combination. I'm curious to see how this will develop in the future, whether large platforms will ultimately integrate this into their ecosystems. Then we come to the price forecast, 0.20, so 0.20 to 0.60. It can ultimately grow strongly. The potential is of course even more gigantic in the future if larger platforms really end up adopting the VR token. Now in this video, I analyzed Psy from the gaming narrative sector, which is very relevant for the current bull run and definitely has extremely interesting points. I analyzed it in detail based on my 20 metrics, and in the end, I made a price forecast again using my 10x formula, and the result surprised even me. So, what is SHE? It is a gaming layer 3 essentially in the area of the Arbitrum blockchain, which is a layer blockchain of Ethereum, and was founded in 2023 by Off-Chain Labs. They are also very reputable, so that is very positive. And ultimately, as mentioned, it is in the gaming sector of Web 3.0, which is very relevant for the upcoming bull run that is currently happening. Then here again is my 10x formula. I recommend you watch this video above to understand all 20 metrics. And then we will start directly with the first metric. The market capitalization is ultimately in the mid-cap sector. Is it good for an altcoin? The potential for growth is definitely still there. And mid-cap altcoins are always advantageous because they simply have the possibility for more extreme growth compared to high-cap altcoins. Therefore 6 out of 10. And the next point, what about the circulating supply? Good either, because it means that quite a few coins could still come onto the market, which of course indicates that it is inflationary and thus a stronger price pressure could come in the future. Therefore only 5 out of 10. And the next point, the roadmap. They want to integrate the gaming sector into Web3 and have various technologies, also have a roadmap, and therefore want to expand further. 7 out of 10. And the next point, the team, as already mentioned, was founded by Off-Chain Labs. These are, let's say, a team from the technology sector, and are definitely extremely strong and well positioned, very positive, therefore 10 out of 10. And then the next point, the narrative. As already mentioned, it is Web3, and in the gaming sector, narrative gaming is very relevant. Many. Ultimately, it is said that this is one of the most important narratives, alongside artificial intelligence and deep learning. They are definitely very well positioned in that area, therefore 7 out of 10. And the next point, what problem does it solve? Well, ultimately, it is about high scalability in the gaming Web 3.0 sector. In other words, it aims to be highly scalable so that many can participate. The security, I would say, of Web 3.0 is also really tailored to this, which is of course very positive. Therefore, 8 out of 10. And the next point, the tokenomics, is definitely very solid and, I would say, well distributed, but not as, I would say, obvious as in other projects. Therefore, 6 out of 10. And the next point, what does it look like for the investors? Well, because it was ultimately founded by Off-Chain Labs, there is of course a strong partner behind it that is well funded, and in the end we have several investors involved, including Coinbase Ventures,
So overall, they are very positively positioned, therefore 8 out of 10. Then the next point, the capital, as already mentioned, the transparency is not really given regarding the information available on the internet, but still, they are well positioned in that area, therefore 7 out of 10. And the next point, how does it look regarding marketing? They already have a strong presence in the Web3 and gaming sector and continue to grow, especially because of Arbitrum, which is positive, and 6 out of 10. I found an altcoin this week that really surprised me. I analyzed it and found that I see it as extremely relevant. I also don't want to withhold it from you. Hold on, we'll now present it to you next. Upload the video for the complete analysis this weekend. If you don't want to miss it and find it really exciting, then subscribe to my channel and don't forget to activate the bell so you won't miss any insights in the future. And now, let's continue directly. Yes, then let's get to the idea. How simple is it? Well, I would say the project in the Web3 and gaming sector is quite easy to understand. Perhaps the technology behind it is a bit more complex, but overall, a rating of 6 out of 10 is also quite positive. And the next point is the long-term vision. They want to establish themselves in the Web3 sector and in gaming, and as I said, that is already an important narrative. They definitely have very good chances because they also have good partners. Therefore, a rating of 8 out of 10. And the next point is the deflationary maximum supply. It is such that they are ultimately at 2.5 trillion, which is effectively a maximum, but they have no deflationary mechanisms, which is not so optimal. Therefore, only 5 out of 10. Then the next point is, how does the fully diluted market capitalization look? It is ultimately 3 times higher than the market cap, which is good and definitely suggests, I would say, that there won't be much price pressure in this area at least. Therefore, we are at 6 out of 10. And the next point, how does it look regarding volume and market cap? In other words, what is the liquidity like? Well, it is at 0.5, which definitely means that it is highly liquid in the market. You can sell your coins if you want to, and you definitely won't have any problems doing so, at least at this time. Therefore 8 out of 10. And the next point, how is the token distribution? It is quite unclear, I haven't found much information on it, so for now, only 4 out of 10. And the next point, top coin holders. So there is indeed a risk because the transparency is not such that larger top coin holders might really throw their coins onto the market and create price pressure. Therefore, only 4 out of 10 is given. Then the next point is, what is the utility, so to speak? Well, it can be used for governance, but also of course for the gaming sector in the layer 3 area, and therefore it already has its use cases, which is also important. Gaming coin is always advantageous because it can also be used for transactions in the game or for microtransactions. Therefore 8 out of 10. Then the next point is, what does the community look like? Well, they have moderate growth on Twitter. Twitter or X is very important in the crypto space. And in the end, they are growing there as well. But there is definitely still room for improvement, so 6 out of 10. And the next point is, what is the current situation? Well, they are already benefiting from being in the gaming narrative space and have, let's say, a good utility there. And we just have to wait and see how well they ultimately grow in that area and how well the entire grows. But first 7 out of 10, then we come back to the result of 76.7%. That is a solid result. The tokenomics are not perfect, but they are okay. And otherwise, it definitely has potential. It has a good narrative, good team, so they are very well positioned in that regard. And then we return to the price forecast. Ultimately, it is based on the fully diluted market capitalization for me. Even if the entire crypto market ultimately reaches 5 to 10 trillion, a certain level, and that's why again the, let's say, normal case, then optimistic and very optimistic. It's always quite difficult to predict. You can only ultimately show what possibilities exist if the crypto market as a whole grows, and of course based on the market share of the altcoin. However, there is definitely strong growth here. If everything goes according to plan, it is definitely positive. Now that you know the potential of XY, I have linked an altcoin above that also surprised me a lot. In the end, it is from the AI sector, has a relatively low market capitalization, surprised me personally in the analyses, and I also have it in my personal portfolio, so it is very relevant. I will link it up here. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like and see you in the next video. Bye!